The GOAT is dead. Long live the GOAT. Ladies and gentlemen, a 3-hour tribute to Tom Brady starting right now. Lonzo has sent me this morning. I'm talking like 200,000 gigs worth of digital homage that he wishes. I believe he wrote some poetry. I think there are some limericks coming from Lonzo later about the greatness of Tom Brady. He asked for the entire 120 segment to be stretched to 35 minutes just to read the Otis to Thomas Brady that he has written. Lonzo is fired up today to do nothing but pay tribute to number 12 for the entire 3 hours. I am Rob Brown. My man Owen is at the helm today. Lonzo on the stream, live from the compound. 3 hours of sports talk radio excellence coming your way, starting right now. And we begin by saying hola to the amigos in the room and, well, technically outside of it. The great one, hashtag Dad Kicks Colonel Grudge, the Alpha and the Omega of ESPN Upstate, is live from the compound. What up, Zoe?
I just want to say Joe Montana retired a long time ago, so I don't know who you're talking about as far as the GOAT. That's Joe Montana, right?
Joe Montana, quarterback, you idiot. That's a Waterboy quote that I break out as often as possible. No, I'm gonna go, Zoe. I'm gonna go. I know that you like to add the addendum of so far on the end, but 7 Super Bowls, the only quarterback to be Super Bowl MVP with 2 different teams, the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl in 3 different decades, pretty much every QB stat with the words all time out front of it belongs to the guy. We can have all the jokes we want about Tom Brady and his deflated balls, but at the end of the day, Lonzo, I'm sorry, we may or may not have to change promos because of this. Tom Brady's the GOAT at this point, and I don't think we'll see another one. I really don't.
You really don't. So you're looking at Josh Allen, you're looking at Pat Mahomes, you're looking at all these guys that look so good right now and have every season they've been in the NFL, and there's no possible way they're going to overtake Tom Brady. Come on.
I don't see
Not only will they overtake him, they will do it in half the time that he said all the stats that he said.
You're starting to show off hot today, Lonzo.
Hey, that's Owen Watterson over there. He's here too. What's up, fella?
I can't lie. I'm not excited to talk about Tom Brady all day, but what else can you do the day the GOAT retires? You got to do what you got to do. I get it.
Yeah. It's the tribute show. It's real, ladies and gentlemen. The tribute.
Hey! I have a question. Are we doing heels and faces today? Because I'd much rather do that than talk about Tom Brady all day.
We are doing faces and heels at 1:20 this afternoon, as a matter of fact, and I'm very excited about that. Face or heel, Rob Brown is going to make Lonzo talk about Tom Brady for 2 out of the 3 hours today. Face or heel?
Heel.
Thank you, Owen.
No hesitation at all. No hesitation at all. The good news is the drama subject of the day. Oh, the drama. The drama subject of the day is that in his initial retirement announcement, Tom Brady mentioned the Bucs and even shouted out St. Pete, baby, home of Gasparilla, the biggest pirate festival in the world. Gave even St. Pete a shout out, nary a mention of Foxborough, of Boston, of New England, of Robert Kraft, not a single mention of the first 20 years of his career, but did specifically reference Tampa Bay twice. I don't care. I really don't care because, he's in Tampa. He's in Tampa. Of course, he's going to mention Tampa. He's in Tampa. Brady's still got an official retirement press conference coming down the pipe. He's going to have a Hall of Fame ceremony to give a speech at. The dude's going to have more cameras pointed at him in the next week than he's had in the past 2 years in Tampa combined. I'm not worried about it. Like everybody, is this a slight to New England? Is this a slight to the Patriots? No, it's just he's in Tampa right now. I would bet, Zoe, he's going to take a 1-day contract with New England to retire a Patriot. I'll bet that.
I was going to say, now here we will know if he's truly sliding New England. When his bust happens in 5 years, will it be a Tampa Bay? Will he be wearing a Tampa Bay hat? Will he be wearing a Tampa Bay jersey? will he mention New England in his Hall of Fame speech? If he doesn't, then we know that all that supposed bad blood was real. And who was it with? I think we know it's a certain coach.
Here's my thing with this, because I feel like it's just people trying to find a reason to be mad, because these debates have been pretty stagnant. I mean, you can't really argue that this dude is the GOAT, the best quarterback, the most accomplished NFL player of all time.
Ask Lonzo.
Yeah,
Well,
you absolutely can, because and I'm gonna bring this up again, and people can dispute it, but they'll be wrong. Does time stop now? Is the NFL over? Tom Brady is the supposed GOAT, the greatest of all time. Are we done playing football? Is football as an entity, does it no longer exist?
he is the GOAT at this moment.
I think we're having a Super Bowl in less than 2 weeks, and I think we're going to have one next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. When Tom Brady is a memory, when all of us are a memory, and the NFL is still going, there will be somebody who will be better than him. And he'll be like number 4 or 5 on the list and will barely be mentioned.
When you break up with your rebound girl, do you mention your original love of your life girl when you're breaking up with the rebound? No.
All right, so I've learned something real quick, Rob, and all those people have complained about me cutting out on the stream. That's exactly what Owen did on this end. So back away from the mic a little. And let's see if that works.
So we got plenty of time. We're obviously going to have this discussion.
Hey.
I will say this. I'm going to say this with all the sincerity that I can muster. That 45 seconds was the most passionate and animated I have seen Lonzo in the year and a month that we have been doing this show together at this point. Lonzo was up in the camera. He needs y'all to know that football continues without Tom Brady. We're going to break down that as Brady makes his official retirement earlier today. Adam Schefter and Rappaport all obviously reported on Saturday he was calling it a career. Brady and his agent said Saturday evening that he was going through the process still and had not decided, but he did announce about 10 o'clock this morning that he is out after 22 years, 7 Super Bowl wins, and a pair of Super Bowl MVPs for 2 different teams. We're going to talk about that obviously later in the show. But before we get there, we have got to do this.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
The lunch breakdown, the 3 things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog. When you gather around the lunch table today, this will be the scuttlebutt. This is what you shall be discussing in your sports-based conversation. We lead it off with item number 1. We mentioned it, obviously, to open the show. We're going to talk about it throughout the show, but for real this time, Tom Brady is retired. The reports came out over the weekend that after 22 years, he was calling it a career. Brady snubbed that on Saturday, but then put out a social media post this morning. There is an article up on it about it up on ESPNUpstate.com. It's a very headline article written by yours truly. Tom Brady's social media post is included in that article at ESPNUpstate.com. He said, quote, "I have always believed the sport of football is an all-in proposition. If a 100% competitive commitment isn't there, you won't succeed. And success is what I love so much about our game. There is a physical, mental, and emotional challenge every single day that has allowed me to maximize my highest potential. And I've tried my very best these past 22 years. There are no shortcuts to success on the field or in life. This is difficult for me to write, but here it goes. I am not going to make that competitive commitment anymore. I have loved my NFL career, and now it is time to focus my time and energy on other things that require my attention." End quote. It might be easier to list the accomplishments Tom Brady did not achieve than to list the ones that he did. 22 seasons, 7 Super Bowls, the only quarterback to win Super Bowl MVP for 2 different franchises, the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl in 3 different decades, the most passing yards in NFL history, the most completions in NFL history, the most touchdown passes, the most games started, the most Pro Bowl selections, the most quarterback wins, the most regular season wins, the most playoff wins, Super Bowl MVP awards, not a single losing season as a starter, the oldest player to win Super Bowl MVP, and the only quarterback on not one but two different NFL all-decade teams. Not bad for a kid drafted at 199th overall in the 6th round who was expected to be a backup quarterback throughout his career. You may insult him as you wish to do so, but ladies and gentlemen, Tom Brady has the single most distinguished career in the history of the National Football League, and I'm not going to say no one will ever match it. I am saying if anyone ever matches it, I will be shocked.
Hey Rob, you said you can insult him if you want. So okay. He really said in his speech there are no shortcuts to success. He really said that. He who deflated balls, he who broke his phone, he who was a part of one of the most cheating, infamous organizations of all time in the New England Patriots. He did not. There are no shortcuts to success. And you know what? Here's the other thing. A lot of those records belong to Drew Brees. You know why? Because Drew Brees did it right. Tom Brady needs a little asterisk by a lot of his things. And here's one more thing. If this were the Baseball Hall of Fame, Tom Brady would not get in.
Lonzo.
Because of all the cheating and everything, Tom Brady would not make it into the Hall of Fame.
Gotcha.
See,
I don't know. His kind of cheating though was different than the steroids dilemma we've been hearing about in baseball. I feel like though.
Was it?
Was it?
Was it?
I don't know.
All right, we're gonna circle back.
I believe they both deflate something. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
We are going to circle back around to that later because Lonzo has deflated balls jokes that he wants to make. We're coming back to that later on in the show, obviously. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. Ladies and gentlemen, while it is not an official race on the schedule, NASCAR will be running a small race this weekend as the Busch Clash is going to take place in the LA County Coliseum. The LA Coliseum, yes, where the University of Southern California plays their football. Over $1 million worth of renovations has gone into the Coliseum to make it a NASCAR race. We don't know the official full cost of building the quarter-mile paved track inside the Coliseum, but we do know they have put over $1 million into the fan experience. Steve O'Donnell, I almost called him Chris O'Donnell. That's a very different guy. Steve O'Donnell, NASCAR Executive Vice President and Chief Racing Development Officer, called the improvements, quote, a significant investment by NASCAR and said, quote, we made a big bet on this, but we think it's the right thing to do for the industry. He also went on to point out, and this is the number that has caught my attention as a NASCAR fan who would love to see the game grow further. He said that so far, while the stadium is not entirely sold out for this weekend, it is approaching capacity, and that 70% of the ticket buyers for the Clash this weekend have never purchased tickets to a NASCAR event before. Now, granted, there's not a lot of races in California. You basically have Sonoma, which is a road course, so you've got probably 90+% of potential fans in California who have never been to a NASCAR race before, but racing inside the Coliseum, a football stadium, paving over USC's field, and running a quarter-mile demolition derby on that track, I think has potential. Lonzo, for you, a guy whose NASCAR experience is basically having to listen to me ramble for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, is there any chance that you would be interested in tuning in to watching a race that is bound to have a lot of guys banging cars and walls together on a quarter-mile track being done inside one of America's most storied football stadiums?
I am interested for this reason. I'm curious how they're actually going to set this thing up. I love seeing behind the scenes and trying to figure out how things are done. And we've seen that Coliseum for years. What's it going to look like when the track is up and running? I am interested in that part. And if I could be wrong here, but wasn't Jeff Gordon from California? Would it be full if he was still racing?
It probably would, and I believe you are correct. But NASCAR has obviously over the years, I think, NASCAR, he is from Vallejo, California. Vallejo is in kind of central California, just a little bit north of San Francisco, I believe. So yeah, California native is Jeff Gordon. Two things you said. Number one, I absolutely agree. The best thing NASCAR could do would be to provide more behind the scenes, right? We saw the F1 series that went on Netflix, which I've talked about extensively on the show, which gained a tremendous number of F1 fans in the States. And that is not even a racing circuit, which has extensive American involvement, right? They won like 1 or 2 races in the States a year. The overwhelming majority of those races are run in Europe. But F1 picked up a lot. I would love to see NASCAR do it. Number two, I am intrigued to see how they present this, right? We have seen NASCAR over the years popping up more and more in the movies, in culture. I know, like, for instance, Jim Rome has been having NASCAR guys on his show for a number of years now. We have seen NASCAR showing up in the movies more. As a matter of fact, say the second Transformers movie, NASCAR, like 2 of the Autobots were NASCAR stock cars. I think one of them was Jimmy Johnson's car, if I recall correctly. But anyway, they've made more of a push. Now they do it in Hollywood. Now they do it in LA. I wonder if that's going to translate to any additional coverage. We'll talk more about that later in the show as well. And finally, item number 3 on the lunch breakdown, the ACC football schedules for 2022 have been released. And now we have Clemson's schedule to go with South Carolina's, which was released a couple of weeks ago. Clemson will open up on September 5th. That is a Monday evening at Georgia Tech in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The home of the Falcons will host the Clemson Tigers as they open up with an ACC match against the Ramblin' Wreck. Then 5 days later, they turn it around. They head back to Clemson, South Carolina, where the Furman Paladins will get a crack at the Tigers. September 17th, a week later on a Saturday, Louisiana Tech comes to town. The first true road game in the ACC will be September 24th when they are at the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest, back home on the 1st of October for NC State. October 8th, they are at Boston College. October 15th, it's down to Tallahassee to take on the Seminoles of Florida State. October 22nd, they are back in Clemson as they take on Syracuse. Halloween weekend open for the Tigers right now, but November 5th, they are up in South Bend, Indiana, taking on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. And then a 3-game homestand to wrap up the season. November 12th, they are home against the Cardinal of Louisville. November 19th, they are back home to take on the Hurricanes of Miami. And then November 26th, obviously, is rivalry weekend. And after blanking the Gamecocks 30-0 in Columbia, Clemson will play host for the Palmetto Bowl this year as the Gamecocks come to town. So that's your Clemson schedule as it lines up now. In just a couple of segments, we'll take a look up and down that schedule, tell you about the things that stand out to us, where we think the wins and losses come this year, and what we project for the Clemson Tigers. That is coming up, all 3 of those topics throughout the course of the show today. But before we get to that, let's run to our first break. Lonzo, live from the compound today. Owen on the board. My name is Rob Brown, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate. All right, hit the restroom.
Hey, check your DMs. Caleb Williams announced where he was transferring. Okay. You weren't in queue if you said anything, so.
I know. I didn't expect you to put it in there since Rob left the room. That's fine.
Jeez.
ESPN Upstate is your home for play-by-play of Furman Paladins basketball all season long. That's the Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders on ESPN Upstate.
I will address your comment, Ryan, in just a moment. I was just going to wait till Rob gets back in the room because, you know.
This is important news. If you have unfiled tax returns, the IRS is shifting gears and ramping up investigations on non-filers this year. If you failed to file your tax returns for a year or more, or you owe back taxes, now's the time to call.
Yeah, it's just me by myself. Woo!
Finds you. Optima is America's #1 most trusted.
Which is normal, isn't it?
Firms specialize in helping individuals, families, and businesses get right with the IRS. They're experts in the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, a powerful new program that can make resolving tax issues easier. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, Optima's award-winning team has helped thousands of people protect their paychecks, bank accounts, homes, and businesses by putting their tax problems to rest, resolving over $1 billion in tax debts for their clients. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-935-7144. 800-935-7144. 800-935-7144. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
Your tires for fun? Here's my card.
Order takeout, use my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Low.
So Ryan says, sounds like a sore loser, Lonzo. Let's face it, compared to Tom Brady, we're all losers, including you, Ryan, because Tom Brady is one of the biggest winners in life, who still feels the need to cheat, but he's one of the biggest winners in life. So we're all losers compared to him.
If they ever catch Patrick Mahomes cheating, Lonzo's going to have an existential meltdown.
Yeah.
No, I won't. I'll call him out too. You know, if anything, I try to be consistent.
Breaking news: star Ted actor Tom Brady retires.
I
got the breaking news queued up too if you need it, Rob. Jeez.
And Steven, I can't answer that yet. We haven't seen the Batman yet. I'll let you know after February 4th. Who knows? Robert Pattinson may come along and we may go, dude, that's Batman.
I think he's going to, by the way.
Oh my goodness, the text line 71307. Start your text with ESPN. And the stream comments, go to facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or search the Rob Brown Show on YouTube. If you got a smart TV, you can actually put the YouTube app on it and then put us up on TV. We're like Skip Bayless, but handsomer and less bad at this job. Here's some text and tweets that have come in. The very first text of the day, Zoe says, please tell Lonzo that jealousy is his ugly side. Tom Brady unquestionably is the greatest quarterback who's ever taken a snap in the National Football League. Another texter says, dang, Lonzo is so passionate where the facts prove him wrong. Another texter says, ESPN, Zoe, I'm no Tampa Bay fan, but it is what it is. Another texter says, that might have been the dumbest take I've heard Lonzo give. Another texter says, ESPN, Lonzo is butthurt. Another texter says, well, that's actually, don't be too harsh on Lonzo. Losing to Clemson for 9 years straight has scrambled everything he thought he knew about football. And Ryan has been going off on the Facebook, says Mahomes chokes and has no chance. And he didn't think the Pats. He didn't thank the Pats. I'm kind of mad. The Bucs might be my new least favorite team. Lonzo sounds like a sore loser. LOL. Ha 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 ha.
Hey, do you notice something? There's a lot of Tom Brady fans out in the listening audience.
A lot of Brady fans.
Wow. A lot of wrong people.
844-GSP-ESPN is the number if you'd like to be a part of the program. 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so that we can read them on the air. Look, the question is very simple. Is Tom Brady going down as the greatest of all time? And I'm not adding a so far on the end. I think it's fair to say, and I know with most players, this is, to me, a cheap sports talk radio conversation, right? Like, what's his? Is he the greatest? Is he a Hall of Famer? Is he elite? It's usually a cheap radio. I need to kill a couple of segments, so let's ask a dumb question. I don't think this is the case for Brady, right? I think it's fair to ask: is dude the greatest to ever play, if not football, the position of quarterback? And jokes aside here, to me, the answer is an obvious yes. Like, the answer is an obvious yes. We just read you the dude's accolades, and you can get mad at him for deflating a football if you want. That's fine. Call him a cheater. That's fine. I would be willing to bet I could let any of the 32 active quarterbacks right now, from Patty Mahomes to Joe Burrow down, do whatever they want to cheat. We don't see 22-year careers. We don't see 43-year-olds winning Super Bowls and winning Super Bowl MVPs. We've never seen it before. It's statistically possible, but improbable that we'll ever see it again. I'll start with Owen, and then we'll go to Lonzo. But no, the answer is I'm not going to see another Brady in my lifetime, because for it to happen, even if we went with quarterbacks that are active now, I will be 60 before we see another quarterback even be able to do this, because I'm thinking about the quarterbacks right now at the top of the game, right? Josh Allen, the way he runs the football, which makes them so successful, can't do it 22 years. Patrick Mahomes, Lonzo and I had this conversation literally yesterday. Patrick Mahomes' style of football, that doesn't last forever. You don't see guys with his style making it 22 years. As far as pocket passers go, I mean, maybe Joe Burrow, maybe, but we're 2 years in. I'm not ready to say he's got 2 more decades in him to get to 22 and 7 Super Bowls. We have seen one guy do it. One guy in the history of the NFL, which is 100 seasons. We've seen one cat pull it off. If it happens again, it's going to be one of the most legacy things we've ever seen, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's undoubtedly, to me, the greatest quarterback of all time. Although you see guys like Stephen A. Smith, he just did a top 5 quarterbacks of all time so far list on SportsCenter the other day, and he already had Patrick Mahomes listed as his 4th best quarterback of all time, ahead of Aaron Rodgers, I might add. So I don't know. I'd like to think Mahomes can get there. I don't know if he'll ever win as much, but I think if we're talking in pure terms of talent, he can be as good. And I don't like calling Tom Brady the best football player of all time. Like, this dude could have never gone at any point of his career and played defensive end, safety, linebacker, offensive line. You know, I feel like that term is used a little too broadly, I guess, in terms of greatest football player of all time. But undoubtedly, yes, the greatest quarterback of all time. And the fact that you said if anybody else even came close to topping his longevity in this league, you'd be 60 years old. That kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Go ahead, Zoe. All you.
All right. So as far as what you said about we'll never see someone with the same kind of longevity, I disagree with you. With the advances in science, and they're constantly trying to make the equipment better to keep the players safer, with all the rules that the NFL has put out there to protect the quarterback. There are some quarterbacks out there right now that potentially could still be playing as long as Tom Brady did. And you're acting like he far surpassed everybody. There were a couple guys who played into their 40s. So that's not unheard of. And I think going forward, that could actually be the norm, depending on if the player wanted to or not. And, you know, Tom Brady, I think the real reason why he retired is because he got sacked so much the last couple games, because he went through a time where he never got touched. And if he did, there were so many flags thrown, it was just ridiculous. I get all the accolades that he's getting and everything, and all the joking aside, yes, this was a great player. Not the greatest player of all time. I agree with Owen there. No way. And I don't believe he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And so I think greatest is still an opinion. It's not. If you look at Drew Brees, so you're going to pick Tom Brady over Drew Brees every single time because he's the greatest of all time. Because everyone says he's the greatest of all time. Drew Brees, I'm guessing, is your favorite quarterback because he played for your team for so long. You're going to take Tom Brady every time over Drew Brees.
I think it's if you're asking me if I put the two on a field with identical teams, who would I pick to win a game? Tell me why I wouldn't pick Brady, right? Like I think Drew Brees is underappreciated. I think he's underrated. I think he's the most accurate quarterback of all time. But if you are talking career achievements, right? Career achievements. Nobody can hold a candle to what Tom Brady's done. I mean, I think we have to distinguish.
All right, Rob. I've been at this company for 22 years. That makes me the greatest right now because I've been there longer than anybody else. I mean,
you say it's an opinion, though. If he's not the greatest,
time out.
I was going to say it's some things I am. Yeah. But you know,
I would like to go on the record and say that the moniker, the Alpha and the Omega of ESPN Upstate, was not come up with by yours truly. That was coined by Lonzo himself. So yeah,
could be sarcasm, could be self-confidence. I don't know. You decide.
I gotta tell you, all I'm saying is today I feel like I was gonna do the whole Gary thing.
My bad.
When there is a problem with ESPN Upstate, whose phone rings first, right? That's all I'm saying. Now, Ryan says, "Are y'all drunk at 12:30 on a Tuesday?" First off, it's 12:34. Okay, first off, it's 12:34. Look. As career accomplishments go, right? And I think the conversation we're having is not about a single football game. I think we're talking about careers here. Nobody has had a career like Brady's. If somebody was to have a career like Tom Brady's, I don't know of a better word than miraculous to describe it. Because again, we can talk Montana and Young and Elway and Aikman and Manning and Brees and every other great quarterback. Drew Brees was in New Orleans with Sean Payton, widely regarded as maybe one of the best offensive-minded coaches in NFL history. Was in New Orleans for, 15 seasons, 16 seasons? A Super Bowl to show for it, right? We could combine Montana, Young, Aikman, Brees, and Manning all together, and they don't have as many Super Bowls as Tom Brady does. Now, a quarterback does not win the Super Bowl by himself. I am aware of that. But he's a pretty big damn influence, right? And when you put all those other records in comparison with 7 rings, and I've argued for years that rings or the number of the rings that a quarterback has is not a huge defining feature, right? Brad Johnson has a Super Bowl ring with the Buccaneers. I don't think any of us are ever going to argue that Brad Johnson is a Hall of Famer. But when you have 7 of them, when you are the MVP in a handful of those, and when you have done it with multiple franchises, 2 in this case, and done it into your almost mid-40s, there is no one else that has achieved what Tom Brady has. And even if I said, cool, Tom Brady's a cheater, right? Because you're not going to convince me that Tom Brady was the only quarterback with a specific PSI he liked on the football, right? You're not going to convince me no other quarterbacks in the league have ever gone to the equipment manager and gone, hey, man, before we put the ball on the field, I need you to stick the needle in there and take about 2 PSI out. But even if, let's say, he was the only quarterback to do it, I will give every quarterback in the past, present, and future the same right. And I don't think any of them touch what Tom Brady's achieved in his career.
Somewhere out there is a 2-year-old kid who's going to start playing football. He's going to go to Pee-wees, tear it up. He's going to go to rec league, tear it up. Go to junior high, tear it up. Go to high school, tear it up. Go to college, tear it up. Make it to the NFL, and break every one of Tom Brady's records. Why? Because life in football goes on. That's why he may be the greatest of all time so far, but he won't be the greatest when the world ends.
I would like to point out that if there's a 2-year-old kid out there right now who's going to be Tom Brady, 16 more years, let's say, well, no, actually 18 more years before he could get to the league, right? And then a 22-year career would make me 76 years old when that guy retired if he plays on the Brady timeline. 76 years old, which I probably ain't going to make it to, all right? 76 years old. If a 2-year-old kid, if we had a kid out there right now in college, that was going to be able to have a Brady-like career, your boy's going to be almost 60 by the time that guy retires, and he would have to do 7 Super Bowl rings and take records away from Brady. Good luck. It's statistically improbable because in the history of the league, one guy's done it.
And this is not, well, you can say whatever you want. The Kansas City Chiefs have been in the AFC Championship game 4 years in a row. 2 years they went to the Super Bowl. 2 years they lost in overtime. You're going to say they're not going to be there next year or the year after. I'm saying they have the potential to be in just as many, if not more, Super Bowls than what New England did and what Tom Brady did. And the same thing could happen for another team. I don't believe that football is over like everybody else does. Football endures. Football lives on.
All right, a couple more texts that have come in on the text line. Texter says the only lock outside of Miami stomping Clemson's ass this year is that Lonzo doesn't know about football. That's from Zach. Texter says, Rob, let that be a sign to you. You start making fun of the Alpha and the Omega, a.k.a. Zoe, and the equipment goes nuts. Another texter says, honestly, I'm not even a Brady fan, but this lunacy Lonzo is saying is about to make me turn your show off. I mean, come on, dude. Like, I hope you are actually joking. A lot of Brady fans, a lot of 12 fans out there in the audience today. All right, let's run to a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. What are your thoughts? Where do you, I mean, again, 99% of the time when a guy retires, this is a cop-out way to kill a couple of segments on the radio. But I think with this cat, it's a genuine question. Is Tom Brady ever going to be matched? Will it ever be matched? We'll talk about it more when we come back. Rob, Owen, Lonzo, you. It's ESPN Upstate.
Do you
Lonzo dropped a 5-0 Goes West lyric on us there a second ago.
you want to combine these two breaks?
No, run them like normal. Okay. Please and thank you.
Oh, start of the next set of commercials, Prisma Health.
In the next break. Got it.
Yep.
Are you living with chronic joint pain? Knees, hips, lower back, shoulders?
Gosh.
FIFA lives in my head, Rob.
Emmett's talking about QC Kinetics, exciting new natural
Fill up my water.
Word to your mother. Is Lonzo in queue? Because I can't hear him.
Probably not, because
he's clearly having a conversation that I was incapable of hearing. Hey, Lonzo.
Yes, Owen, we know it was your fault. Because, buttons are hard and stuff. And in the future, when I am not in queue, I will continue to, have a wonderful conversation with everyone. Well, no, they can hear me.
Can hear you, right?
Yeah, they can hear me. You guys can't.
Yeah.
And I know that. You must be joking. How dare you talk about Tom Brady that way? I am going to turn the channel. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Worried about what you're breathing in? With each breath,
Allergens, germs, and viruses get trapped in your nose. Now there's a simple, easy, and effective way to clean your nose and protect your health. It's called Navarre.
You may think I'm irrational, but why would you come here for rationality? I don't get that.
Your transmission, that's over $3,000. Your engine, up to $6,000. Even minor repairs like your air conditioning can hit your wallet hard. Here's the good news: if you have a car, truck, or SUV that's $19.99 or newer, you can stop paying for repairs right now. That's right. With Protect My Car, when your car breaks down, we pay your.
You know, Steven, I am going to give Rob the benefit of the doubt and say he's Mark Hamill's Joker. So there. You didn't put Mark Hamill, arguably one of the greatest Jokers of all time, on there. And I know he's animated, but still. If Rob types so angry, it probably doesn't
with authority.
You probably don't realize how loud, because I didn't until now, how loud it is on the stream when you're typing.
Yeah. I'm gonna raise my mic up like this.
Like every time Owen coughs and he turns his mic off, but he doesn't realize that he's still coughing into the mic.
22 seasons in the league. How many times did Tom Brady get swept by a team in divisional matchups in the regular season?
Ooh, once.
I wasn't aware that Tom Brady played by himself. I mean, you know, I think there's a whole team involved.
The Saints last year and this year, the only two teams to sweep Tom Brady's team in division play.
Never in the AFC East.
Say again?
Never in the AFC East.
Fun stat. 22 seasons. Tom Brady was swept in regular season play by a divisional foe twice. It's happened 2 times. Never happened in the AFC East. The only times that Tom Brady was swept in divisional play by an opponent in division were the New Orleans Saints last year and the New Orleans Saints this year. Tom Brady was 0 for 4 against the Saints in divisional play, but was 1-0 against them in the playoffs in the only game that genuinely mattered, I guess. Here's some more texts that have come in on the preferred home services text line 71307. Start your text with ESPN. Texter says, I don't know if Lonzo understands how time works. Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time. You can't consider future time because it hasn't happened yet. So, yeah, Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time. If you can magically jump to the future to know someone is better than him, then good for you, but I highly doubt it. Another texter says, with deflated balls, the score was 28-3. Once balls were fixed, Brady won on a 31-0 run. And I would like to personally, because I know he listens to the show, he's a big fan, personally thank Tom Brady for giving me a lifetime's worth of the ability to use 28-3 memes, because I will forever #falconing.
As a Panthers fan, that's one thing we can agree on, Rob.
Here's another fun fact. In his 22-year career, Tom Brady lost 73 regular season games as a starting quarterback, right? 73 in 22 years. Missed that 1 year because his knee popped in week 1. I think it was against your Chiefs, if I recall correctly, Lonzo.
No comment.
22 seasons in the league, 73 lost games. The New York Jets have lost 76 in the last 6 seasons. Just to kind of have a bit of a reference. Texter says, ESPN Rob, another fun fact, Brady has 1 Super Bowl ring in the last 2 seasons that New Orleans swept him. Yes, I just said that Brady is 1-0 against the Saints in the playoffs, and it got him a Super Bowl ring. All right, I know. I am trying to hang on to whatever little glints of optimism I can, because my team's about to become a dumpster fire like Tampa Bay is, for being real. Here's a question, Zoe, that I got on the text line a minute ago. Aaron Rodgers to Tampa Bay. Yes or no?
If you look at ready-made teams, and
it, right?
Aaron's trying to figure out where he needs to go. No, You don't do that
You
because
don't do that.
because of who you're following.
Yeah, because if you go in and you don't live up to what Brady did, then you're just the guy who couldn't do it. But then again,
And yeah, but you're Aaron Rodgers. You hurt your legacy if you go in there and you don't get it done. And you also, I think you hurt your legacy by following him because you're saying, okay, he did it. Why would you do that? No way I'd want to follow Brady, especially if I'm Aaron Rodgers. No way.
I gotta think, right? Like Aaron Rodgers, Rodgers does not seem to care about legacy, right? And maybe that's just my impression. Rodgers doesn't seem to care about his legacy. I don't think he cares about what the public thinks about him. I don't really think he gives all that much about his professional legacy. I suspect Aaron Rodgers is going to be a dude. He's going to do one of two things. He's either, when he retires, whenever that is, be it this offseason or a couple down the road, he's either going to drift off into obscurity and take himself out of the public eye completely, or he's going to end up being like the next Pat McAfee or Joe Rogan with a podcast where he just kind of goes off the rails here and there. But I think you may have a point, Lonzo, in that if he has any inkling at all that he cares about what his legacy is, I don't know unless he just wants to prove that he can do what Brady did, right? He can go
but
if QB whisper and a great wide receiver core and win.
If he comes in and he wins the Super Bowl, he did it with Brady's hand-picked players. He didn't do it on his own. I don't see anything unless he just wants to go win the Super Bowl, which, that's kind of a good thing, I hear. So, but I just don't think he's going there.
I agree with you. I don't think he goes there. I don't think that's a realistic landing spot for the reasons that Lonzo mentioned. I agree with that. That being said, the flip side of the coin is if Rodgers truly does not care what you think about him, which I'm getting the impression is the case, right? If he truly does not care what people think about him, that's a great landing spot. You got a great wide receiver core already built in. You got a great pass catching running back in Leonard Fournette. You got Bruce Arians, who's known for being able to design offenses around quarterbacks. He did it with Brady the last 2 years, right? If Aaron Rodgers genuinely does not care what people think about him, which I'm getting the impression he does not, Tampa Bay would be a perfect landing spot ultimately for 112 to replace another.
I'd like to argue there's a better fit inside the same division for Aaron Rodgers, but that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, Owen. I'd be all right with it, but it ain't happening.
We will find out. Let's run to our last break of this hour. When we come back, we will finish off. Well, we won't finish off this discussion. I'm sure it's going to pick back up throughout the show. But in the next hour of the show, we will open up. Clemson's football schedule for the 2022 season is out. We'll take a look up and down, see where we see some wins and losses, any trends that we might pick up early. That's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Back to you, sir.
Let me tell you about my friends at Prisma Health. They have rejoined us, and we are so glad to have them. Prisma Health, the official healthcare provider for both the Gamecocks and the Tigers, ladies and gentlemen. Those two, I don't know if you've noticed, don't agree on much or anything, except for our friends at Prisma Health, and they can provide you with the same care that they provide the top-tier athletes at those two schools. Blue Ridge Orthopedics and Stedman Hawkins are the region's most trusted
a chance for rain near Lake Marshall Sunshine developed I-54, or is a chance for rain I-62? I'm meteorologist Jennifer Luchinski, ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 47.
ESPN Upstate. No matter where the ball bounces, we got your hookup on your radio at 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, on your computer at ESPNUpstate.com, on your phone or tablet on the Odyssey app, on your Amazon smart speaker. Play ESPN Upstate. And on your HD radio at WFBC HD3 now. In the car, in the office, so many ways to get in the game with ESPN Upstate. All sports 24/7 for Upstate, South Carolina.
Golfers, the best Upstate deal on golf is back and on sale now. The 2022 Upstate Golf Card gets you a round of golf at 10 premier Upstate courses, and it's only $99. Grab your foursome.
Take us off stream for us. How much time we got left in this break?
Willow Creek, Legacy Vines, Carolina Springs.
2.5.
Owen Lonzo back. Perfect. Sweet.
Jules in Minneapolis and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations, so you get the product you're looking for. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it.
Hey, so you'll have a health there at 1:15.
All right.
And did you know you can earn hundreds of dollars safely donating yours? Go to freedomplasma.com or call 864-377-8115. Start earning cash and saving lives.
Everybody can calm down. Tom Brady has officially thanked Patriot Nation. Robert Kraft put out a statement earlier. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but had some very kind words for Tom Brady. And Brady retweeted it with, "Thank you, Patriots Nation. Heart emoji. I'm beyond grateful. Love you all." End quote. So Brady has now thanked the Patriots. All you Patriots fans, Ryan can calm down, take a deep breath. He knows who you are. All right. 20 years with you. I don't think, look, you spend 20 years with somebody. They're a part of your life, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. I don't think he's forgotten you, Patriots Nation. And now you Patriots fans can take a deep breath. Okay. Your lover went on, accomplished some nice things without you, but he didn't forget about you. All right. Everybody on the big stick, you can all relax now. Brady thanked the Patriots. He didn't slight them. He said thank you. And yet, Lonzo, one more example of the humble, kind heart of the GOAT.
I have nothing. Yeah. I have nothing. I'm speechless.
All right. So we have asked the question now. Is Tom Brady? Will his legacy ever be matched in the NFL? I say no. Owen, you say.
I'm still kind of mixed on this one. Zoe is throwing me off with his answers, but I still have to go no, right? I mean, even a guy like Mahomes, who I think has just as much talent, honestly, if not more, it's looking like he's not even going to get close.
I just want to say, guys, as the older person here, there was a time when I heard that about other players, and those players were surpassed. You hear that all the time. It's just like it's the same argument. Well, the music made in my era is the best. Anything else is not as good. Time will tell. You're right, but there was a time when people thought no one would surpass how many times that Montana was there, how many times that Bradshaw, a bunch of other guys back in their day were considered the greatest, and then someone came along and surpassed them. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. Rules were made to be. Not rules. Records were made to be broken. Rules are made to be broken too, but records are made to be broken, and this will be broken eventually. And I would like to think that I'm going to be around. Rob may not be, but I'm still going to be here.
Texter says,
just so we can say I told you so.
Exactly.
I love this text. Texter says, yes, Alonzo, that's how time works. What
See?
a line.
Someone's on my time. On my side.
Line. Oh, that's beautiful. All right. When we come back, Clemson has their football schedule placed out, as has the rest of the Atlantic Coast Conference. We'll take a look up and down. We did this for South Carolina a couple weeks ago. We all said we think 8 wins is realistic for South Carolina. We'll break down Clemson's schedule when we come back. Rob Alonzo, Owen, and you on the Rob Brown Show. This, ladies and gentlemen, is ESPN Upstate.
You know, Rob, I don't know if you can hear me or not, and I don't think you can. I just want to say that time keeps on ticking, ticking, ticking into the future. It does. It really does.
What, Lonzo?
It's all right. It's just a conversation I was having, just me and the listeners. It's okay. It's okay. I believe I was quoting Steve Miller Band. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's who did the song that I was just quoting that you guys didn't hear.
No, I heard you. You were just kind of quiet.
ESPN Upstate is your home for play-by-play of Furman Paladins basketball all season long. That's the Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders on ESPN Upstate.
Now, Orion Brent, Offsides with Mark Ryan, ESPN Upstate.
In fact, right now, folks, seeing the last true run of the running back position in football. We heard Christian McCaffrey is going to be on the trading block. Of course he is. He's got $41 million left on his account. Never plays. Never plays. You don't think for a second that if the Carolina Panthers could get a second-round pick for Christian McCaffrey today with a team that's willing to pick up the rest of his tab and he's gone?
No, Mark, they wouldn't.
They would cut their losses so fast, you could not even blink. And it's not that Christian McCaffrey isn't a super talented player, isn't a uniquely talented player.
You know, Zach, the point that you're making is exactly the point that I was making. But, you know.
The problem is he's never healthy.
Offsides with Mark Ryan, 3 to 7 p.m.
Because it's a matter of opinion.
It's time for you to
Statistically, it's not, though. Statistically, it's not. No one has done it better than Brady, statistically speaking.
Because he's been around a long time. You know, that fry
Yeah,
guy's
which
made
is
more
kind
French
of part
fries
of
than
it.
anybody else. He's worked at McDonald's for 30 years. No one has made more French fries than him. Doesn't mean he makes French fries better. It's just that he's been there longer than
That's
anybody
such a
else.
red herring, so you can't.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It is not. There are certain records you're going to get just because of longevity. If you can stay upright and throw a completed pass and you've been there forever, you're going to get some of those records.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is hour number 2. Great to have you along for the ride. I am Rob Brown. Owen Watterson at the controls today. Lonzo joins us live from the compound, and we start out this hour with a little college football, folks. We had South Carolina's 2022 football schedule revealed to us a handful of days ago. We went through game by game, gave you some thoughts and some prognostications. We do the same now for the Clemson Tigers. September 5th has been revealed as opening day. That's a Monday night, ladies and gentlemen, when the Tigers will take on the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech. This one's going to be at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And, you know, look, it's a good start for Clemson, right? You're not taking on an FCS school out of the gate. You're coming up against a Georgia Tech football team that has gotten bad. They are not good, right? They're
not playing the good Georgia team like they did last year, or the great Georgia team.
Correct. You are not taking on Georgia, but you're coming up against a Georgia team that has gotten bad. But again, a Georgia Tech team that last year was 3-9, right? 3-9. In the ACC, they were 2-6. They had a win. They had a couple of wins last year that weren't all that impressive, but they had a couple that were. That win at North Carolina. North Carolina was ranked number 21 in the nation at that point. They also had a win at Duke. Again, not all that impressive, but better than a lot of FCS teams that Clemson has opened with in the past. It should be a good opening win. Get a conference win under your belt to start the year. Back home for a pair, September 10th and then September 17th against Furman and against Louisiana Tech. Then they go back on the road for another ACC matchup on September 24th when they are at Wake Forest. October 1st, NC State, the Wolfpack, comes a-calling to Death Valley. A week later, October 8th, back on the road for the Tigers as they take on back on the road for the Tigers as they are at Boston College. 7 days later, it's down to Tallahassee, Florida, where they will take on Mike Norvell's Florida State Seminoles. October 22nd, we'll tailgate in Death Valley once again as the Syracuse Orange come a-calling. Halloween weekend open for the Tigers this year. November 5th, South Bend, Indiana, as the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame play host to the Tigers. Then a 3-game homestand to end the year for Clemson. Louisville, November 12th. Miami, that would be the Canes, coming to town November 19th. And then November 26th, obviously, rivalry weekend, South Carolina. Shane Beamer's Gamecocks this year travel down the road to take on Clemson in Death Valley. And, I looked down that schedule, Alonzo, earlier today, and I'll tell you this. If Clemson's going to have a bounce back year, if Clemson is going to have a resurgence this year, I like this schedule. They don't have a Georgia on there anywhere that really impacts. The ACC is down. Their out-of-conference schedule, for the most part, isn't all that threatening, with Furman, with Louisiana Tech as 2 of the 3 opening games. If they are going to have a resurgence this year, Lonzo, they've set themselves up with a schedule that is far from intimidating. And on top of that, if they are going to make a resurgence, if they are going to be back in the mix for a playoff spot this year, if they do find whatever magic left them last year, finishing out with a 3-game homestand against Louisville, a better Miami team, but a Miami team with a brand new coach, a Miami team that's trying to turn its program over. And then, of course, the South Carolina team that they blanked 30-0. No lack of confidence there. If Clemson is going to be in the playoff race late in the year, Lonzo, they have set themselves up with a schedule that is relatively favorable to pull it off.
All right, we know that schedules are pretty much set, a couple years ahead of time. This just worked out perfect for them. There are a lot of question marks. If it was a normal year after a normal season, you would look at this, look at the schedule and go undefeated. But there's some question marks because of DJ Uiagalelei and how he played last year. Will he improve? Will he be the starting quarterback? That is still a major question. We're not going to find out till, the fall. And if I look at the schedule and look for anywhere where they may struggle, it might be Notre Dame, but Notre Dame has a new coach. Still have the same players. Will they struggle with Notre Dame? Other than that, I don't see any place on the schedule where they're going to have a whole lot of problems. And yes, that includes South Carolina. South Carolina is improving, but unfortunately Clemson is in their head right now. And until they get them out of their head, they're not going to compete, especially after being blanked last year. There's no reason why they should have been blanked. But Clemson's going to go undefeated this year. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. But let me say one more thing, Owen. That's a problem, though, because they don't have that challenge game where they can go, okay, we competed against this caliber of team, so we should be able to handle the playoffs. Because if you play a certain level, and this has happened to them some in the past, you play a certain level of team, then you get to the playoff where the level is higher and you don't know what to expect. I think that's a problem for them.
I agree with you, and I think on normal years, if Brian Kelly was still in South Bend, we'd all look at, Notre Dame coming off of a bye week for the Tigers and be like, that's the one they got to win. But quite honestly, the game that scares me the most, if I'm Clemson, is Boston College. I mean, when I saw you at ACC Media Days, Rob, over the summer, and I got the chance to talk one-on-one with Jeff Hafley, one of the most impressive men I think I've met in a long time. Reminds me, dare I say, a lot of Dabo Swinney. They just hired a new offensive coordinator and Kevin McNulty up there, who I think is going to be a great fit. I like Boston College a lot. I like what they're building. And that stretch they have of at Wake, which will be no slouch for the first time I think I've ever said that in the preseason. Go to NC State or come home with NC State and try and get that bounce back win after losing to them in Raleigh last year. And then you got at Boston College and at Florida State. And we saw Florida State wasn't a slouch either. If they can get through that stretch before the bye week, I agree with you. They'll go undefeated. But that stretch to me is the toughest they got.
A couple of things about the schedule that jumped out to me. First and foremost, as far as and I'm going to strain my fingers air quoting this, powerhouses of the Coastal Division. They got Georgia Tech and they got Miami, right? But that means that they don't have North Carolina. I don't know if North Carolina is going to be improved from last year to this year with Sam Howell going to the league. Probably not. But North Carolina's trended upwards. They're going to miss Pitt. Again, same situation. Kenny Pickett's going to the league. This is not going to be the same Pitt team. But Pitt's got playmakers, and if they happen to stumble into a guy who can give them 80% of what Kenny Pickett gave them last year, Pitt can scare Clemson. They got them last year, right? They can scare them. They miss Virginia, and they miss Virginia Tech. Of the powerhouses in the Coastal, they effectively got Miami and missed the other big four, if you want to call them that. So they got a favorable draw out of the Coastal Division. Another positive, I like that Clemson has runs, right? They open of the first 5 games, 3 of them are at the house, and the 2 that aren't are 2 of the work of the lesser ACC teams, right? Georgia Tech and Atlanta. That is going to be I was going to say it's effectively a home game for Georgia Tech, but the tickets are going to be split 50-50 there. I got $1 to a donut says Clemson has home field advantage in that game. So that is, though it's not in Clemson, that is effectively a home game for the Tigers, which means that 4 out of the opening 5 games are either in Clemson or with a home field advantage. And the one that they got to travel, Wake Forest, not exactly known are the Demon Deeks for making their house an intimidating place to play. And then, like I mentioned, you got NC State coming to the house. Boston College should be a winnable game on the road. The one that I kind of shrug at, I genuinely have no idea what FSU is this year. Honestly, I have no idea. They've got a good transfer portal class that's coming in. Mike Norvell, I think, if he's dropped out, he's sitting around number 15 in the recruiting rankings right now for FSU. They've got some names stepping in. FSU's not going to be as good as Clemson, all right? Don't think that I'm saying FSU's on the same plane, but if FSU has momentum, because remember, FSU started the year with an FCS loss last year, right? They lost, Jacksonville State. If FSU has more momentum, that fan base in Tallahassee, I lived an hour and 30 minutes from Tallahassee and broadcasted in that market for the better part. I was on in Tallahassee for a few years. That fan base is chomping at the bit for that team to get back. If they carry momentum into a mid-October game and you got to go to Tallahassee, the Doak Mike Rock. But if FSU drops another stupid game like they did last year to open the year, that house is going to be dead. It can be win. So that might be the interesting game because you got from September 24th to October 15th, 3 of the 4 are on the road with FSU being the last one. If the Doak is loud, if FSU has momentum, if Norvell has indeed pointed them in the right direction, maybe that FSU game becomes a little bit more difficult. But again, I have no idea because I don't know what FSU is going to be. Also notice, obviously, and I mentioned this a minute ago, 3 out of the final 4 for Clemson are at the house. The final 3 are at the house. In the last 4 weeks, you got to go to Notre Dame. Don't get me wrong. As Lonzo pointed out, Brian Kelly's gone. All right. Brian Kelly was the mastermind behind Notre Dame's rise in the last couple of years. I like where they decided to go with the head coaching direction of Marcus Freeman. He seems to be a guy that when he got the job, we saw social media posts from Notre Dame players that were like, hell yeah, that's my guy. Marcus Freeman is liked, but he's also brand new. He's learned from Brian Kelly, but he's never worn the headset of a head coach before. So we don't know what Notre Dame's going to be, but you're back home for Louisville, winnable game. You're back home for Miami, new head coach, team that we thought last year was going to be on the rise, never really connected, should be a winnable game. And then again, I agree with Lonzo. Shane Beamer, South Carolina's on the rise. It's an upward trajectory. Does that mean they're ready to compete with Clemson this year? No, they're not. You beat them 30-0 last year, and they had all the confidence in the world. I was at that game. I was in Willie B that night. South Carolina felt like it was a damn SEC conference championship game that night, and Clemson came out and dog walked them 30-0 in their own house. I got no reason to believe the Gamecocks are a massive. They'll be better. And again, I think the question mark is what's Spencer Rattler, right? If Spencer Rattler is first-year Spencer Rattler, the Gamecocks might be a bit of a threat. If he's second-year Spencer Rattler, they won't be. It's really that simple to me. But having 3 of the last 4 at the house is a big advantage for Clemson. I like all of that. Here's the deal. When it comes down to me, I got to set the under. And maybe I'm being a bit optimistic here. I'll start with Lonzo, and then we'll go to Owen. If you're asking me to set an over-under on this, it's 10.5. It's 10.5. 11 wins is realistic in this schedule for Clemson. The threats right now, even if we look at what last year's team was, Georgia Tech's not a threat yet. Furman's not. No disrespect to our friends over at Furman, but they're not going to Clemson and winning that game. Louisiana Tech's not. Wake's not. NC State's a threat. All right? NC State's a threat. They've lost some of their better players, but front 7, NC State can be very, very powerful at the front. It's a threat. Should be a winnable game. Boston College, not a threat. FSU, question mark game because I have no idea what the hell that team is this year. Syracuse should not be a threat. Notre Dame's a threat, right? Because as Lonzo pointed out, now, a handful of Notre Dame players followed Brian Kelly to LSU via the transfer portal. So I don't know how good they're going to be. But at South Bend with Marcus Freeman, that team's going to be hyped for that game. Unless they lose a couple of dumb ones early, Notre Dame's a threat. I don't think Miami is. I don't think Louisville. I don't think South Carolina is. Lonzo, I'll start with you. I think 11 games is the bare minimum expectation for the Tigers this year with this schedule.
Yeah, I'm going to say that they slip up once. And because classically, even during their best runs, they get in a position where there's a game they should not have a chance to lose, and sometimes they lose it, sometimes they don't. And because I think last year will still be in the back of their minds, I think they lose at least one game, but they're going to win everything else.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I mean, if they have less than 11 wins, I mean, we're just going to hear the same cries we did last year of, it's over, the run's over, just like we thought it was last year, which at the end of the day, 10 wins is a very, very good season. And, for most program standards, I will say, South Carolina still is one of the scarier ones to me. If this game this year was at Williams-Brice, I'd feel a little bit different just based off of the energy Rob said that they did have there for, I don't know, the first 6 minutes of that game, if that. But, I mean, playing in Death Valley, I think Shane Beamer is already in his head after that 30-0 loss. But the good thing is Spencer Rattler hasn't experienced that rivalry, doesn't know anything about it, and he won't be in his head. At least, that fan base can hope so. So 11 wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly, and you know, I've already gotten one text in that says you're being way too optimistic, but I've gotten about 3 in that says, yeah, Texas says, I think DJ loses his starting job early, set the line at 11.5 wins,
No.
and I'll take the over without a say. Well, listen, so Clemson fans this year, Owen, have been very adamant that Cade Klubnik's going to come in and be the guy, right? Like he's just going to off the bat take DJ's job. And I don't think it will. I think DJ Uiagalelei is starting that Georgia Tech game. If Clemson finds a way, because here's the thing, Georgia Tech, you should just out-athlete the Ramblin' Wreck, all right? Furman, you should out-athlete Furman. You should Louisiana Tech, and I'll be interested in what Diesel has to say. You know, he's kind of our FCS dude in the house. Louisiana Tech's interesting, right? Because they've got some athletes at La Tech, but they got a coaching turnover as well. So there's a question mark there. Wake should not be a threat. We won't know if DJ's the guy, I don't think, until he faces NC State back home. But this game's at home October 1st. If DJ can't find consistency in the offense by October 1st, that's where your quarterback change happens, midway through the NC State game. But there's not a loss in the first. I'll say there's not a loss in the first 6 games. All right. Georgia Tech, Furman, La Tech, Wake Forest, NC State, Boston College. NC State's a threat, but there's not a loss in the first 6 weeks unless DJ just absolutely craps the bed against the Wolfpack.
Which I just don't think is going to happen. Not just, the first couple weeks. I think Clemson fans are far too down after just 1 year of DJU starting. I mean, I get Cade Klubnik is supposed to be as good as he is. I think he is going to be an extremely great quarterback, and that program's storied history of other great quarterbacks. But come on, even when Trevor Lawrence was in his first year, like Kelly Bryant, in my opinion, other than a runner, was not near as talented as DJU is. And if we're thinking about it that way, just like you said, Rob, based off of the ease of the schedule for the first couple weeks, DJ is going to be the starter for the first 4 or 5 weeks at least. And by that point, if he hasn't found consistency, throw Cade in there. But I don't think that's going to happen. DJ's heard the remarks. He's heard the thoughts. He was a preseason Heisman guy last year, just like Spencer Rattler was. He's got all the talent in the world. He just needs to get out of his own head too.
Lonzo, there's the big question, right? I think quarterback plays the question, and we know that over the years, whether it's been Deshaun or Bryant or TL16 or whoever, that a lot of what Dabo has tried to do offensively has been predicated on having a well above average quarterback, if not straight up great quarterback. If DJ Uiagalelei becomes the next great, right? And this is the point. I think Zach over in the Facebook stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate said from game 1 to the bowl game last year, DJ showed 0 improvement, end quote. Has DJ learned to put touch on the football? Because that was a problem last year, right? Like there were guys coming out of the backfield that DJ needed to drop a little finesse ball over a covering linebacker. And he's rocketing the ball back there. If DJ shows improvement, and he is the starter from week 1 till the end of the regular season, Lonzo, then again, I think 11 wins is beyond realistic. I think it's probable. If he has not learned to put touch on the football, that not every pass needs to have smoke coming off the back of it, and gets a little more mental consistency in his game. If he doesn't do those things, though, then I think there may be 2 trip-ups somewhere there. There's an L we don't see coming. But as this schedule sets up, and I don't mean this as an insult, welcome to college football, this schedule's about as easy as Clemson could ask for it to be, coming off of what is considered for them a down year.
And the thing is, as far as Dabo goes, we know he's overly loyal to whoever his starter is until he gets to the point where he thinks it's time to move on, and he usually gives them a chance. DJ's going to have the chance the first couple games. And then if he stinks it up on this schedule, then he'll be benched. But he's going to start the beginning of the year. There's no reason why they are. I just don't believe that he would put someone ahead of him yet.
That's a good point. I think that's a great point. If there is a schedule for DJU to prove that he's the guy, this is it, right? That kind of comes with it. On one hand, Clemson's been gifted a relatively easy football schedule. There's really, again, there are some question marks. Again, I don't know what FSU is going to be. NC State with their front seven, if they're as good as they were the last year at the defensive front seven, could pose a problem. At Notre Dame, is a big question mark. We'll see what Miami does under Mario Cristobal. I mean, he had a good team in Oregon, not a great team, but a good team in Oregon. If he can do it in a single off season at Miami, maybe Miami question mark. Shane Beamer's team, again, another question mark. They got blanked last year, but Shane Beamer's got one of the best 2, if not 3, if not the best overall transfer portal in the class, which is an immediate boost for a year, maybe 2. Maybe South Carolina, but again, there are no teams on this roster, on this schedule, that I look at and go, that's a loss, right? There's none that I circle as that's a loss. There's no Georgia, there's no Alabama, there's no teams I circle and go, that's a loss for Clemson unless they get better. DJ has a blessing and a curse in front of him. Blessing in that he is not going to, I don't think he is going to play a defense that's going to be ranked inside the top 25 when this year is over. Right? FSU's had a bunch of turnovers. Notre Dame, I don't know what they're going to be defensively. Maybe NC State can sneak just inside the top 25 statistically. There's no defenses there's certainly none that are going to be top 10 on the schedule. No top 10 defenses on the schedule. But the flip side is, I think that means the leash on DJ Uiagalelei is very short, right? Very short. If you go out there and you have a 45% completion game with 2 turnovers and Cade's sitting there in the wings waiting, might be time.
It might be. And I'd also like to add, if we're talking about last season, there were a lot of things just from the quarterback standpoint, like you said, Rob, where some of his touch passes were just off. Some of his timing with his receivers was off. But on the same note, Justin Ross was still trying to get acclimated to coming back. They were having both those Collins guys, Bo specifically, playing a ton of snaps as a freshman. They didn't have the best group of receivers like a lot of people thought they would. The offensive line was really down. They had a bunch of young tight ends for the most part, other than one. Like, this year, he's going to have more experience around him. He's going to have a much more solid offense to match how elite that defensive unit is going to be. And if he can't do it with that, then we know for sure it's time to bench him.
All right, we got a couple of texters that have come in. Texter says he can have all the talent in the world, but if DJ continues to miss 5-yard slants to open receivers the entire season and play flat-footed, I don't see Dabo allowing that to continue another season. And Texter says Miami might not have a top 25 defense, but I think top 5 is a reality, but then added LOL on the end. We'll see. Look, he brought in Mario Cristobal. It's an offensive-minded coach, right? I don't know what impact he's going to have. Let's take a break. We'll come back, finish up this discussion. Joe Giglio of BetQL is going to join us at 1:35. We'll throw you down some Super Bowl bets, both props and locks on the field, as well as turn Joe's attention toward college basketball. See if there is anybody he likes as maybe a March futures bet. That's coming up at 1:35. I put a question mark because it's a tease. You have to wait till later. See what I did there? It's radio magic, baby. Rob, Lonzo, Owen, you, the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
So back to you for the help there.
All right, let me tell you about the Health Dare. What is the Health Dare? The Health Dare is a way for you to lose weight. Yeah, but it's a way for you to get healthy from a cellular level. Here's the thing. Diets are out there. Some of them will work. Some of them won't. For the most part, when you diet, you yo-yo up and down, and you end up weighing more than you did before you started. You don't want that to happen. What you need is a plan, a simple plan that anyone can do, and it's called the Health Dare. And when I say anyone, I mean anyone. That means even you can do this plan. And one of the biggest things when you look to lose weight that you worry about is, am I going to be hungry? Well, you're not with the Health Dare, because you're going to be able to eat the food that's in your fridge, the food that's in your pantry. You can even have fast food and carbs with the Health Dare. And maybe you're someone who doesn't like to do things on your own. That's me. I don't like doing things on my own. Well, with the Health Dare, you can bring someone with you because it's buy one, get one free. So you pay half, they pay half. You guys both get the program. You're both going to get healthy from a cellular level. You're going to look good. You're going to feel good. You're going to have the energy to face the day. And it's so easy to get started with the Health Dare. All you have to do is go to idareme.com, fill out some information, and one of the Health Dare coaches will bring you in for a free consultation, get you on the way to losing that weight. And don't forget, it's buy one, get one free. Go to idareme.com sportsflash.com today. And when you're there, make sure you tell them that Lonzo dared you.
Sunday's 115-90 loss at home against the Clippers. Number 9, Duke, 57-43 winners at Notre Dame. UNC Wilmington beat 70-63. NC Central with a 70-67 win at home over Norfolk State. South Carolina State beat Howard 58-55. Tonight, Davidson and St. Bonaventure. The Tar Heels visit Louisville. South Carolina and Mississippi State. Virginia hosts Boston College. Ole Miss at number 25 LSU. The Alabama Crimson Tide at number 1 Auburn.
I would woo Zach, but if I do, I'll, hurt myself.
All season long. That's the Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders on ESPN Upstate.
And everyone has left the room, except for me. I could get up and leave the room, but, in my room. So what can I do? It's not my room. It's my game room, but I decided to forego the overhead blue light today because, I thought it made me look zombie-like. And I've also realized that a blue light will relax you to the point where you struggle with energy. So too much blue light might be a bad idea. Unless, of course, you're at Kmart, when Kmart used to exist, because the blue light at Kmart was an amazing thing because you would hear an announcement come over the announcement, the loudspeaker saying, "We have a blue light in the toy department," and then you run to the toy department because there's a blue light, which means they were discounting something in the toy department, and you could get it for cheap. And when it's
there's only 12 standing Kmart's left in America?
Yeah, I mean, they all went bye-bye, unfortunately. As someone who got made fun of for wearing Kmart clothes, which was a step up from charity clothes, I just got to say, I love the Kmart, and I love the blue light, and it wasn't a solid blue light. It was a flashing blue light. So if you were a couple aisles over, you could see the blue flashing at the top, and you would know, hey, it's time to go get some discounts. For all you people who are saying, what's a Kmart? Well, then you're just too young.
One of the last Kmart's to close was in Fort Walton Beach. It stayed a Kmart for years, but it got to the point that if you walked in, it looked like a scene out of Mad Max. It was like the majority of the store was nothing. And then there were just like a handful of like steel racks set up in the middle with just sparing stuff on them. And but there would always be like 40 people working there. And I was like, what is this place? But if you needed something like last minute, Kmart had you, dog.
Yeah, I've been at the end of a couple stores when they closed down, and that was all was left there. It's one of the reasons why I'm in South Carolina, because every place I work went out of business. I mean, like, period, no longer exist business. And you stay till the end, till all you had was these steel girders, and you got paid severance for staying until the end. So, it was pretty fun.
There was I feel like the Kmart that was in Cherrydale, Lonzo, closed down not that long ago.
Well, there's also one in Malden, and it lasted for a good little bit too. But I think it's been a couple years since we've had an open Kmart.
Goodness, maybe my time perception is just bad.
Well, COVID messed everything up, and I think some of those stores closed pre-COVID. No, Steven, I don't know what Sky City is, but I wonder if that might have been a regional thing. It might have been just down here. Because there are stores that only stay up north, and then some that are only in the south. It's like White Castle, which is not a store. But
I had White Castle one time when I went up north. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Maybe not worth all the hype, but
you get done bowling and it's 1:30 in the morning. White Castle is open, and so is the other places that people go. You go to White Castle because it's cheap, or it used to be. And Crystal is a cheap knockoff that
Oh,
will
I
never
forgot to
be as
call.
good.
Holy crap. 1 second.
Who you got? You getting Joe? Oh, we're gonna do next segment. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. If he answers it. The Rob Brown Show's back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Finish up this quick segment. Joe Giglio of BetQL going to join us in the next one. We'll do some Super Bowl talk. Texter says ESPN DJ Uyunglele has issued library cards to every D he's faced. Reading his plays is too easy. That's why he's had so many interceptions. Look, and we've talked about this. We talked about him, obviously, all during the regular season. There is a part of me, not a part of me, there's a huge chunk of me that genuinely believes that DJ Uyunglele, based on the hype surrounding the guy before and after he got on campus at Clemson, and I know this is a hot take, but DJ's dad, who I've never interacted with personally, and he sounds like a perfectly nice guy, but I've heard some interviews and whatnot. I think they built DJ's brand into, hey, you're going to be bigger than Trevor Lawrence, right? You're going to be bigger than Deshaun Watson. You're going to be bigger than Kelly Bryant. You're going to be bigger than all these quarterbacks that have been carrying Clemson the last couple of years. And I think DJ kind of believed that hype. I think that hype went to his head a little bit. I think he kind of got to the point where he went, yeah, I'm just next in line. I'm heir to the throne, right? And in every high fantasy story you've ever read, who's the worst person in the book? It's always the little prince who's heir to the throne, right? He knows he's going to be king and everybody will bow to his will until the point that they throw themselves out of the window because Cersei got into their head. Game of Thrones reference, you're welcome. Listen.
It's despicable to compare DJU to Joffrey.
As I said what I said, all right? When they know that they are...
Hey, what are you guys talking about? I've never heard of that.
Yeah. I think it may have gone to his head. And that is, I agree with what this texter said. I really, really hope that I don't want to call it failure, but I really hope that the struggles of last season were a wake-up call, because DJ's got the potential. He's got the talent. He's got the physical tools required. We've seen him do everything he needs to do, just not at the same time and not put together. I really hope so that last year was, for DJ's sake, kind of a slap in the face, a call to reality that you're not going to be Trevor just by being Clemson's quarterback. That is earned. That is not given by putting on the Tiger Paw helmet. It doesn't mean that you're rolling into the College Football Hall of Fame. That is something you have to work to do. I hope for his sake and for Clemson's sake that last year was kind of a slap in the face, a little bit of a reality check for DJ, and that he has used this offseason wisely to understand, you know, again, you add that that Dr. Pepper NIL money on top. I really hope that he understands that this is not something that just happens, and the struggles he had last year, I really hope he works on them this offseason to put it all together.
Well, probably the coolest thing about our job is getting to interview athletes and celebrities. You've interviewed a bunch of guys. You got to talk to him at ACC Media Days face to face. Did he come across as the little prince, or did he come across as someone who was confident?
He came across as somebody who was perfect. To be honest with you, perfectly humble, right? He came across as somebody who felt perfectly humble. I asked about his comparison, the comparisons made to Trevor Lawrence, and he was like, look, I hope I can be what Trevor was, similar play style. So I think the offense fits me. I think we're going to be fine. He came across as perfectly humble, but then also while you're having this conversation with him, and again, this is not a negative thing. I have praised Joe Burrow for the same thing. He's got the big necklace that says Big Ocho on it. And there is definitely a brand built around DJ Uyunglele, and that's what makes me suspect it kind of went to his head a little bit, right? The tailored suits, the chain with his name on it,
the Bojangles,
the Dr. Pepper making him the first I don't know if it's multi-million, but $1 million NIL deal, etc. And this is not on him. He was pushed into this spot, right? Nobody ever before had gotten an NIL deal like Dr. Pepper. His dad went full Lamar Ball on us by building the Uiagalelei brand before he took his first snap. I don't fault DJ for this because he was put into that situation by forces outside of DJ Uiagalelei. What I would fault DJ for is if he doesn't look back at last year, at the fact that Clemson did not meet their expectations, did not meet their goals last year, and doesn't grow from it. That's where I'll fault DJ Uiagalelei if it happens. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's run to a break. We will hopefully be joined by Joe Giglio of BetQL in the next segment, where we'll talk a little bit about some of the lines, the overs, unders, the props, the hits for this for next weekend Super Bowl. Maybe look a little college basketball in the face as well. All of that coming up next with Joe Giglio of BetQL on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
He didn't answer anyway, so that worked out.
He was probably on another interview because this is his circuit day. You got that number written down still?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait like just another second or so.
Thursday from
That's why.
at 141 South Chase Boulevard at Fountain Inn.
There's nothing worse than coming home from a cold day to find out that your heater isn't working. When this happens, you need an HVAC company you can trust. A company like Priority Heating and Air. Their HVAC specialist will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. To keep your family or business warm this winter, and get Priority Heating and Air.
Zoe said his computer crashed. Be back when he can.
Well, that's why he's frozen. That's fine. Works out for this interview.
I guess it does, huh?
Go ahead and try and call him. So if he doesn't answer, we can give him a couple of recalls.
When used as directed, one spray of Microban keeps killing 99.9% of bacteria, touch after touch for up to 24 hours. Wow. Microban 24. The sanitizer 4 out of 5 doctors use in their own homes. So why aren't you?
When others treat your fries as an afterthought, all you're left with are cold, soggy fries. That's why Wendy's new
Hey, Joe, this is Owen with ESPN Upstate. We're supposed to have you on with Rob in our next segment. All right, man. We got about a minute and a half, and we'll get you on, all right? Thank you. Got him.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Workspaces, apps, events, and video in a single platform, Zoom powers all your communications. Large enterprises, small businesses, and individuals use the secure Zoom platform to enable new ways of working, learning, hosting events, and supporting their customers. And now you can save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with the Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects. The Winter Olympics are coming.
Hey, Rob, start of our next break. I got a QC Kinetics for you.
10-4.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
The 2005 Texas Longhorns began the season ranked number 2 and stayed there all season. Their defense allowed only 16 points per game, while their Vince Young-led offense averaged 50. The Longhorns went on to face USC in the BCS National Championship game against top-ranked USC, winning 41-38 in what many consider one of the greatest college football games ever played.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
Teams that win college bowls have great recruiting, and great recruiting starts with great conversations. That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 770 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified.
Let's do it.
Which means you can start
Coming back here?
Yeah, 9, 8.
LinkedIn.com/sports. Post your job for free. That's LinkedIn.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome back to the show now. It's been a couple of weeks. My man's been busy living his life from BetQL. He is the host of BetQL Daily. You can find all of BetQL's podcasts, including BetQL Daily, at the Odyssey Podcasting Network, or go to BetQL.com. My guy, Joe Giglio, back on the show. Joe, welcome back, big fella. Good to have you, my man.
You too. Happy to be back with you. I'm excited to talk. We're at Super Bowl time, Rob. This is great stuff.
It turns out there's a big game in a couple of weeks, Joe Giglio, and I want to ask you. So we didn't get a chance to talk to you, unfortunately, leading into conference championship weekend. I got to tell you, so far, I think this may have been the best postseason the NFL has provided us in years, maybe ever. But with games coming down to the wire in almost every game, I think every single game the last couple of weeks has either been walk-off field goals or overtime games. When we have had a run of games that have been as good, as hotly contested as these are, does it make you shy away from continuing trends, like let's say from the divisional round where we had 4 great games, 3 walk-off field goals and an overtime into the championship round, and now from the championship round with what we saw in the AFC and NFC games both into the Super Bowl? Does it change the way that you attack the next weeks when we have such consistently good football so many weeks in a row, or I should say such highly competitive football so many weeks in a row?
Yeah, I think the key is to try to separate news, the book title that I read years ago, the signal from the noise, right? The trends from the nonsense. What matters, what doesn't at this time of the year. And a couple of things that I've thought about as the playoffs have gone on. I think these trends, these long-term trends, whether it be Josh Allen in the cold, McVay versus Shanahan, they really aren't as applicable in a one-game, your life's on the line kind of setting as they might be in week 7 of the season. And I think we saw that as this playoffs has gone along. Like, McVay can't beat Shanahan. Well, he just beat him. And then you watch that game on Sunday night, and even though the Niners were up 10 heading into the fourth, it didn't feel locked in because of the way the Niners tend to play late in games. Shanahan, the way he coaches late in games. Garoppolo's hard to trust. So you look at that. I looked at the live line, and I was like, boy, I think the Rams could come back here, even though that's not what the trend would say. So I think separating some of those trends, what's real, what's not. And the other thing, Rob, that has been really incredible so far in the postseason, because how tight these games have been, until the NFC title game, in which the Rams won but did not cover the 3.5 number, the spread hadn't mattered in one postseason game. In every single postseason game up to the title game, with the NFC title game on Sunday, the team that won the game, they covered the spread. It was either an outright victory for the underdog, or in the games the favorite won, they did cover the spread. So the spread hadn't mattered in any playoff game up until the final game on Sunday night. That's got to be the longest that's ever gone on. Usually we're like, oh boy, because they cover the number. Well, the favorites, when they've won, they've covered until the Rams. And obviously every dog that won is covered the number.
Joe Giglio of BetQL joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Joe, let's go ahead and jump into the Super Bowl discussion. The Rams opened a couple of lines. I saw 3.5, a couple I saw 4.5 point favorites, but this one is in SoFi, right? And if there is a game that you wouldn't think home field has too much of an advantage outside of the comfort of being in their own locker room, etc., it would be a team playing at home in the Super Bowl. I saw tickets are going like cheapest you can get in the buildings, like $5,700 to sit in the nosebleeds. Is there a built-in 3.5 like we usually see in a game like this for being at home? Or does Vegas genuinely feel the Rams are that much better?
Yeah, I think this is just about the rosters and the matchup here. I don't think it has to do with home field advantage. It's weird that, we never got this in the Super Bowl, and then we got it last year with Tampa Bay, and we get it this year with Los Angeles. I don't put much stock in it. I don't think it's going to be a big factor in the game, a home field advantage or a crowd noise type of thing. Plus, the Bengals have gone on the road the last 2 weeks to pretty hostile environments and been just fine. I think it's about the matchup. And on paper, you could see why the Rams are the favorites, specifically up front. It's what they've done up front. Their defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line feels like the biggest mismatch in the game. And I think that's where the numbers coming from. Coaching edge you would give to the Rams as well. Star power edge on their defense of the Rams as well. So I understand why the edges are there in terms of the number, in terms of the line for the Rams. But it does feel like it's ticking up here. It went from 3.5 to 4. Some books have it at 4.5. I'd be surprised if we get to 5, but I think somewhere between 3 and 4.5 it's going to sit by kickoff.
We're talking to Joe Giglio of BetQL.com. The quarterback battle here, is really interesting in that we got Matt Stafford, a guy who was blamed for so many years for the Lions being bad. I believe the kids say LOL to that as Stafford leaves, and now he's in the Super Bowl. On the flip side, nobody's got more swag in the league right now than Joe Burrow does. Is there anything, we talked about going into the Kansas City game, and you mentioned Cincinnati's offensive line. Tennessee sacked Joe B 9 times, still won the game. Then Cincinnati comes out against Kansas City last week, and not as good of a front four as Tennessee has, sacked 1 time in that game. The offensive line looked like a different group of guys. Is there anything that jumps out about these two quarterbacks that would either inform your decision on the Super Bowl bet itself or any over-under prop bets, yards, etc., from these two guys that you like early?
So on the Stafford side, I feel like Sean McVay is finally starting to realize, like, hey, we traded for this guy for a reason. And on Sunday, against the 49ers, they were stopping the run pretty well. And eventually, as that game went along, he put the ball in Stafford's hands. And I think that's the Rams' best chance. I know they want to be balanced, but if McVay continues to realize what I think the rest of us have realized, like, hey, the running game's not really working right now. We have Kupp, we have Beckham. We could throw the football here. I think Stafford throwing the ball would be the way to go. So maybe look at over on completions attempts. They both hit last week. And as far as the Joe Burrow side goes, I mean, how could we keep doubting this guy? It just feels like a fool's errand to bet against Joe Burrow. Rob, I've never said this before about a quarterback because none have actually ever reminded me of him. He reminds me of Tom Brady. I mean, on the day that Tom Brady retires, we're talking about this. Joe Burrow, the way he plays the game, the way he maneuvers the pocket, the way he just is totally unfazed by just bodies flying around him, plays he has to make. He reminds me of Tom Brady. And, it's amazing all those years ago, Brady playing in his first Super Bowl was a significant underdog. No one thought they could actually win. And he went out there and we know what he did. So, yeah, I have stopped doubting Joe Burrow. All this guy does dating back to his college days is win these big games. I think his last 9 gotta have it games. He has a 31-2 touchdown interception ratio. He's 9-0 and has about 3,500 yards. He's completely money in these big spots.
Either way, so we talked about Sean McVay, we talked about the coaching matchup. Historically speaking, and I don't know if this is something that maybe you've looked into, but historically speaking, is there an edge for teams, at least on the betting line, that have recent Super Bowl experience like the Rams do? I mean, they were a couple of years ago. As a Saints fan, I don't think they deserve to be, but that's another conversation. But when a team has a little bit of Super Bowl experience like Sean McVay and the Rams do, even if Matt Stafford himself does not, does that have any impact on the way that these things shape up on the betting lines anyway?
It certainly would on the betting line. I mean, I think there's just probably a feeling of we know what to expect with the Rams in this game. They've been there before, even if not all their players have. Stafford is new to this, but McVay and a lot of those veterans have been there before. And the Bengals, it's basically all new to them. So I think that leads to a slight edge for the Rams, like this whole week and the week in between and the preparation. They just have an experience factor. But I do think we could go a little far with that. I mean, we've seen plenty of times over the years a team that has not been there before, the coach that has not been there before, they're just fine. I also think last year, and it's going to be similar this year, that it's just a little bit of a different atmosphere, Super Bowl week, because of COVID, because of rules, because of things being more virtual now. I don't think it's kind of the circus that used to be Super Bowl week, where these players could get out of whack, distracted. You used to hear about that back in the day. Like when the Cowboys were there every year, they kind of knew how to handle it. Other teams were like, oh, boy, this is our first time or whatever. I don't think it's that way anymore. I think these teams kind of get it, and they've been dealing in this new reality for 2 years. So I don't think that the week or the hoopla around the game is going to have much impact on preparation.
Yeah, I remember, and it used to be, again, I haven't seen it the last couple of years, obviously because of COVID, but the media week specifically always kind of turned into a circus, sometimes with literal clowns getting dressed up. But, some of these guys have experienced that in the past. Some haven't. We've got the new COVID protocols, et cetera. So overall, when you consider all of that going into this game, what are maybe 2 or 3 of your favorite bets that you think might pay off for this game?
So a couple that we were looking at today on BetQL Daily. I mean, both these teams, the Bengals are a slow starting team in terms of the first quarter, and the Rams tend to be a little bit more conservative. Sean McVay in terms of 4th downs and decision making, really at all points of the game, but especially early. You could bet on the first score of the game to be a field goal over a touchdown. I like that. You could bet on both these teams' first score of the game to be a field goal. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we get a pair of field goals or at least one field goal as the first scoring plays of this game. It just feels like it fits both of these teams. I like lowest scoring quarter as the first, as they kind of feel things out in the first quarter of this game. And then from a player side here, Rob, I mean, you can tell me whatever you want Cooper Kupp's props are, and I'm going over. I mean, all this guy does is just break the mold. He is the best route runner in the NFL. I took him last week over his receptions, went over his yards, he went over. I'll do it again in the Super Bowl. I think it's set at 8.5 receptions and about 104 yards. And typically you're like, wow, that's a lot. And then you watch Cooper Kupp play and you're like, no, he'll get his 9 or 10 catches and he'll be at over 110 to 120 yards. It's what he does every week. So I love the Cooper Kupp props and the first quarter with field goals and a lower total in that first quarter.
We are talking to Joe Giglio of BetQL. He is the host of BetQL Daily, which you can find on the BetQL and Odyssey podcast networks. Joe, man, glad to have you back, buddy. I appreciate the time. We'll break it down next week. Look at some more over-unders. Talk to you then, my guy.
Can't wait. We'll talk then.
There you go. That's Joe Giglio of BetQL. Let's take a break, come back, put a polish on hour number 2 with the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Tell you about my friends at BetQL, ladies, or excuse me, not at BetQL. I just did the interview. QC Kinetics. I got all my Q's mixed up. Tell you about my friends at QC Kinetics. Listen, joint pain's reality. Seven, 8 seconds and just kind of fade out gradually instead of just cutting it.
Okay, cool. Cool. Do we have another? Oh, we are not going to have a lot of time.
Yeah, no, we should be in and out, theoretically.
Yeah, we're going to come in like right at 59.
Yeah. That's fine. If it's going to be, we
got Zoe back.
Perfect. If it's under a minute in a situation like this, if it's under a minute, you can just let the music roll the whole time.
Okay, cool.
So like if it's 59:01 or later, you can just let the bed roll.
You got it.
Apparently, I got my laptop at Kmart.
Manage client portfolios based on our forward-looking views of the market. In times like these, we understand that clients want proactive communication and guidance.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we get to know our clients so we can tailor their portfolios to their specific goals and needs. We even offer resources on Social Security, Medicare, tax efficiency, and more. Our primary goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions, right?
No, we don't sell commission products. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, our fees are transparent, structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Without the
So Steven says Diesel would make an excellent Bane. Mark Ryan would be the Penguin. So what? Give it. Who else would we be, Steven? Who would be? I think I'd be the Riddler, right? Like if we're going Batman villains, Alonzo, I think I'd be the Riddler, right? The haughty intellectual. Emphasis on haughty.
If we're doing villains, I don't know about Diesel as a Bane, as Bane. He's just not big enough.
Zaz.
Little known character Zaz. Yes.
Oh man, we're gonna be in after the 59.
That's all right. I'll get us in and out quick.
Ah. You want me to go ahead and end this hourly podcast then, Rob? You even want this last bit in there?
Is it a 30? Yeah, you can take it out. Oh, gotcha. No, just leave it. We'll fix it afterwards.
Okay. Lonzo, can you talk?
Some would say no, but I am capable, yes.
Just had to make sure. Someone asked which version of the Joker Rob would be, or Lonzo would be.
No, it's Rob, but I don't think Rob would be the Joker, really. I mean,
We're gonna go Jack Nicholson if we're contemplating though.
Yeah, I'd be Jack Nicholson's Joker.
I don't know if
Y'all
Rob
say what
has
you
that
want.
kind of. I don't know if Rob has that kind of crazy in his eye.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he does. I don't know.
With all the makeup, maybe. If we're going that far.
No, what I
Jack
said
Nicholson was
is
the best Joker.
I disagree. Heath Ledger is the best,
Not
but
even close.
Mark Hamill would be second.
Watch this. Watch Lonzo. Lonzo, you just say that because that's what everybody thinks. That's just the popular, cool thought to have.
You can watch me. It doesn't faze me.
Holy crap.
Dude, in and out. Just let the music roll. Two hours in the books. When we come back, Tom Brady's call it a career. What does that mean for the rest of the National Football League? We'll break that down and more. Rob, Lonzo, O, and you, The Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate. There you go.
Beautiful.
Almost got it in under 50.
Considering the circumstances, could have been worse.
Significantly.
You're right, Steven. Rob does wear a lot of purple. He also wears green, though. So, I mean,
And for the record, I look damn good in both.
That editor.
With a 70-67 win at home over Norfolk State. South Carolina State beat Howard 58-55. Tonight, Davidson and St. Bonaventure. The Tar Heels visit Louisville. South Carolina and Mississippi State. Virginia hosts Boston College. Ole Miss at number 25.
If I'm going to be a Batman villain, I want to be Scarecrow. So, I mean,
Underrated.
because he messes with everyone's head. So,
I'm Chuck Sanders on ESPN Upstate.
I know you haven't watched it yet, Rob, but the Scarecrow from Titans is pretty messed up.
I've always
number
liked
2.
Scarecrow. You know me. I like psychological stuff. He's always been one of my favorites for that exact reason.
He's also kind of a stoner, which is funny.
A bit of a stoner. Love it.
Yes. We're not talking Randy Orton stoner. We're not Riddle stoner. We're talking, the intellectual stoner.
Bro, did you see the report was that Riddle was supposed to win the Rumble, but they changed it to Brock last minute?
I did not.
Dirt sheet rumors, baby, was supposed to be Riddle was going to win, and it was going to set up a Randy turn on him. But then Vince decided, since he wanted Lashley to set up Brock Roman, that was the easiest way to do it and switched it last minute to Brock.
Vince is right, but I still would have rather the Riddle thing. No one would have seen that coming.
No, not at all. I think it would have been great. Give me all of that.
But I get why Brock had to win the thing. But still, doesn't mean Riddle can't win something else, like maybe the Elimination Chamber. You didn't watch Raw last night, did you?
Not yet. I'm going to be
So you
watching
didn't-
it in the office as soon as we're done here.
You haven't seen the race. Okay.
The race? No, I have not seen the race.
Yes, I'm going to leave it at that.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. I am Rob Brown, host of the aforementioned Rob Brown Show, sitting in today live from the compound. My co-host and executive producer, Lonzo, is here as well. And my man Owen working the board for us on the ones and twos, as we have spent quite a bit of time talking a little bit of anything and everything, as long as it's Tom Brady and Clemson football, you know. First hour, we talked a little bit about Brady calling it a career. Second hour, we broke down Clemson's newly released football schedule. If you have missed that, I will have a game-by-game breakdown video going up later on our website at espnupstate.com. But before we get there, I want to share something with you guys. In case you have not done so yet, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time. I want you to go on your phone to your app store, whether you're an iPhoner or you're what's the other one? iPhone and Android. Android's the other one, because I'm dumb. Go to your, whether it's Google Play or iMac, your iStore, where you get your fun apps for your iPhone, wherever you go. And I want you to grab the Odyssey app. And I want you to grab the Odyssey app, Audacy. And I want you to take that Odyssey app. And when you open the Odyssey app, there's going to be a button at the bottom that says Explore. And I want you to click on that Explore button. It's a little magnifying glass. They make it really easy for the dumbs like me. And once you do that, I want you to type into the Explore ESPN Upstate. ESPN Upstate. And when you do, right there below it, there's going to be a list of stations. And that list of stations, the very first one is going to be ESPN Upstate. I want you to click on ESPN Upstate. And at the top in the right-hand corner, there's a little heart button. Aww. Because you love us. We love you too. All right? Little Barney act. Click on that red heart icon and light it up. And once you do, you are going to get notices from when ESPN Upstate goes live or puts up new podcasts, etc. Well, one of the things that ya boy has recently figured out is that we are now able to contact you directly through push notifications. We're not going to spam you. It's not going to go crazy. But when we get breaking news, like, for instance, Tom Brady has retired, Clemson football schedule is out, etc., 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 we can actually let you know that and send you a link to our site so that you can listen to it live or go to the website that's announcing the news or whatever the case is going to be. But then also, when you have that Odyssey app, right underneath the play button on the station, you are going to see the picture of one of the most good-looking, handsome, distinguished sports talk radio hosts you've ever seen. And right next to him, you're going to see my picture. I want you to just, and if you don't like me, this is your chance. I want you to just punch me right in the face. Just tap right on the face. And when you do, it's actually going to take you to our podcast section. And when you go to our podcast section, Lonzo and I, after every show, we put up about 7 different pieces of audio. We put up individually and with commercials edited out all 3 hours of the show. So if you got long term, right, you can't listen to all 3 hours because you're at work. But then after work, you're like Owen and you go to the gym because you're 22 and you care about yourself, which is something that I gave up years ago. You can go there and you can actually download all 3 hours of the show. But let's say maybe you're in a hurry. Rob, I don't really have 3 hours to dedicate to your annoying voice every single day. Well, we also put up little short clips, our highlight hours of the day. So like, for instance, yesterday, I put up a few. I put up the segment, which then got ruined today, where I asked Lonzo how we processed the information this weekend of Tom Brady retiring and then not retiring. I put up a piece where we broke down the quarterback comparison of Matt Stafford and Joe Burrow. And I put up the podcast segment where I absolutely rained fire on Greg Berhalter and U.S. Soccer. Now, you get the 3-hour versions of the show, but you also end up getting these short clips. In fact, those 3 clips I just read to you were 12 minutes, 17 minutes, and 5 minutes, right? So if you go to the Odyssey app, Audacy, you go to Explore at the bottom and search ESPN Upstate. You heart ESPN Upstate at the top. Then you just punch me in the face. It'll take you to the podcasting section where you can listen to both the highlight segments of the show if you don't have time and download all 3 hours of the show, which really works out. Lonzo, what does it work out to be? Like an hour, 15 minutes tops when we take all the breaks out? We make it easy for you, people. Lonzo and me and Owen are here to make your lives easier and better. You're welcome. Get the Odyssey app, AUDACY, search and favorite ESPN Upstate, and then make sure you go to the Rob Brown Show podcast section. You can listen to all 3 hours and highlight segments from every day's show right there, and it helps us tremendously, and we appreciate it more than we can tell you. All right. Tom Brady, about 10 o'clock this morning, put out a social media post that said, hey, I'm done. It's been 22 years. I'm going home. I'm going to be the husband that Giselle wants me to be. I'm going to be the dad that my kids need me to be. I've had my fun. I'm calling it a career. I asked the question earlier in the show, will we ever see another Tom Brady, right? I've gotten 2 texts, and I believe this is the point that Lonzo was kind of going at, that during Dr. J's day, we got told we'll never see another Dr. J, and then we got Magic. And then Magic's day, we'll never see another Magic, and then we got Michael. And then Michael's day, we got told we'll never see another Michael, and we got Kobe. And then in Kobe's day, we said we'll never see another Kobe, and we got LeBron. And now everybody's saying we'll never see another LeBron James. And I think that is all fair. But I don't think, despite the greatness, I don't think that any of those players, and I went basketball first, and I'll tell you why in a second. I don't think any of those players are matchable, right? Incapable of being matched. And I think we did, right? But because Dr. J's legacy was really good. And then it got a little overshadowed by Magic, but not like, holy crap, so much better. And then Magic's legacy, shared with Larry Bird at the same time, got passed by Michael. But not so much that it was like, wow, he wasn't even in the same universe. And then Michael's legacy, when Michael retired, we had to wait a couple of years, but then we got Kobe. And Kobe's legacy is great, but it's not like it was universes ahead of Michael Jordan's legacy. And now we got LeBron. And LeBron is great, but hell, most people can't even agree whether or not LeBron was better than Kobe, better than Michael, Kobe better than Michael, better than LeBron, Michael better than LeBron, better than Kobe. There's debate. There is no debate. No one has had not only not had a career that matches Brady, no one's had a career that's anywhere close to Tom Brady's, right? Statistically speaking, and in terms of accomplishment and record books, all the guys I just mentioned on the basketball court, all their legacies by the numbers are really similar to each other. Even if you adjust based on Magic's NBA was more physical and based on defense, Kobe's NBA was even a little more tough-nosed than LeBron's. Like, we can make all these arguments, but statistically speaking, all their careers are in the same realm in terms of accomplishments when it's said and done. If I asked anybody on planet Earth, name me a career in the NFL that is ballpark close to what Tom Brady's career has been, and I'm just talking accomplishments, achievements, and titles, all combined. Name me one person who has had so far in the X seasons of the National Football League. Name me one who has had a career that's even in the same galaxy as Tom Brady's. There's not one. There's not, right? With basketball, there's always the guy that you go, this is currently the greatest guy on earth, but his legacy is comparable to. And that's true of LeBron, who I think is the best basketball player the world's ever seen. But his legacy is comparable to Kobe's and comparable to Michael's. Name me a guy with a legacy that is comparable to Tom Brady's. Don't worry, I'll wait, because it's not going to happen.
Charles Haley.
No.
He's got 5 Super Bowls.
As Owen just said, I don't even know who that is. Charles Haley.
You know what? In about 5 years, someone's going to say Tom Brady, and there's going to be some kid who will say, I don't even know who that is.
I think the thing with basketball is because of how many less players are not just on the floor, on the field, whatever, at the same time and on the bench. I mean, these 6 championships were I've heard compared a lot to Brady's and his 7 Super Bowl rings, but the amount of effort it takes to put an entire cohesive football team together around one guy to win 7 times at the highest level, I think is way more difficult than it will ever be to win at the highest level in the NBA, simply because of how many less pieces you need that need to be at an elite level.
I think that almost goes to the point, right? When we talk about the NBA, you mentioned there's 5 guys that play on the floor in the NBA. There's 5 guys. The NFL has 32 starting quarterbacks every year. 32 starting quarterbacks every year. Now, granted, there's 30 starting point guards and 30 starting power forwards and 30 starting big men in the NBA. The NBA, whether you think it's Kobe, whether you think it's LeBron, whether you think it's Michael, whether you think it's Larry Bird or Magic Johnson or Oscar Robertson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Wilt Chamberlain, whoever you want to think is the GOAT, the greatest basketball player the world's ever seen. I think it's LeBron, right? I think it's LeBron. Whoever you think it is, the debate's there. Even if we're not talking specifically elements of the game, right? Lonzo said earlier, if I got one game, would I pick Brady or Brees? If you asked me to win a single game, I don't know. I might take Drew Brees over Tom Brady for a single game. But a single game, right? But if you're talking career accomplishments, I can put LeBron and Mike in the same breath. I can put LeBron and Kobe in the same breath. I can put Kobe and Michael in the same breath. And I think that's the Trinity, right? Like those are the top 3. But if you want to add anybody from the previous days into that, I can put them all in the same breath. I will wait. And Lonzo said earlier, I'll say not football player, and that's fine. But if I included every position in the NFL, every position, linebacker, offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback, cornerback, safety, kicker, if I included every position in the NFL, name me a single player who has the achievements and the legacy that Tom Brady has. Lonzo went with outside linebacker Charles Haley, and that's fine. He got 5. Stellar career. How many's Brady got? He's got 2 more than that. If a quarterback wins 2 Super Bowls, 2, we go, that guy had a hell of a career, right? Drew Brees got a Super Bowl, and we consider him one of the greatest to ever do it.
So what you're saying is Super Bowls is what decides who's the best of all time. Because a lot of people would put Dan Marino in there and other quarterbacks and other players in there who never accomplished winning that many Super Bowls. But,
correct.
But all you've been saying this last minute is Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl.
Super Bowl is not the end-all, be-all of how I rank quarterbacks, how I power rank quarterbacks, right? It is not the end-all, be-all of how I power rank quarterbacks. It never has been. However, to say it's unimportant, I don't think counts, right? Like Brad Johnson doesn't get elevated in the mix because he has a Super Bowl ring. Because anybody who watched that Tampa Bay team that year knows it was Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp and the defense that won that Super Bowl. But winning Super Bowls does help the legacy. The only reason I remember Brad Johnson as a quarterback is because he won a Super Bowl. Winning 2 Super Bowls is a mark that we go, that guy won a couple. That's pretty good. Winning 3 Super Bowls elevates you into a hall that very few quarterbacks enter. He won twice that amount and another one for the road at 43 years of age. I'm not saying it is the end-all, be-all factor, but I'm saying when you win 7 of them, you're saying something special.
All right, you brought up basketball. So let's use the analogy that's used with Michael and with LeBron. You know, Michael went to all those finals and he won them all. LeBron didn't, so that makes LeBron lesser. So Brady went to all those Super Bowls, but he didn't win them all. That means a quarterback like Joe Montana or somebody else who went to multiple Super Bowls but won them all, that makes them better.
No,
it's the same. It's the same exact argument.
No,
same exact argument.
It's not at all the same argument. I'm saying.
Oh yeah, it is.
All right, fine. Let's say Tom Brady didn't win them all. That's awesome. Tom Brady still won more than Joe Montana went to at all. Still won more than Steve Young and Dan Marino and Drew Brees and Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes freaking combined, right? Like even if we said losing a Super Bowl is a black mark, right? It's not, but let's say it is for the sake of an argument. If losing a Super Bowl is a black mark, Tom Brady still has won more than all those guys I just mentioned combined. Right? And I would say a Super Bowl win is more than a Super Bowl is a greater benefit to your legacy than a loss is a detriment to it. Nobody thinks a Super Bowl loss is a detriment, right? We have never said that guy would be a Hall of Famer, but he lost the Super Bowl. Now,
well, why does that apply in basketball? I'm just curious. Why?
I feel like the weight that an NBA championship holds to a Super Bowl, like, you know, in the NBA, up until years recently, I mean, we're starting to get some more parity in the NBA, but I'd say 90% of seasons I've ever seen and ones before that, you could pick out 2, 3, maybe 4 teams that you said they have a very legitimate chance to win the NBA Finals. The Super Bowl, with how many games are in the regular season, how hard it is to be elite in the regular season and then elite in the playoffs and then elite by the time you get to the Super Bowl, I feel like is so much different than the NBA. I mean, Bill Russell has 11 rings, but not a soul mentions him. I mean, yeah, he's in top 10 lists a lot of times, but nobody mentions him with Mike, LeBron, some people with Kobe. I just feel like the Super Bowl wins hold so much more weight than a lot of other championships do in a lot of other sports.
Well, and I think the other aspect of this, and again, I didn't mean this to turn into an NBA v NFL championship fight, but here's the other aspect of it. In the NBA, you've got best of 5 and best of 7 game series that you get to go through, right? Way more often, the better team's going to win a best of 5 and certainly a best of 7. In the NFL, you got a crack, and all it takes is one guy to have a bad day. If the Bengals and the Chiefs lined up for a best of 7, I'll take the Chiefs to win that series in 5. Okay? But in the NFL, you don't get a best of 7. You get one game. And if Joe Burrow has a great day and Patrick Mahomes has the worst day of his season, which I think arguably he did, the worst game of his season, that can flip-flop the legacy, right? If Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl this year, my dude is already elevating. We called him all year coming into the season the baby goat, right? If there's a guy that can chase Tom Brady, it's Patrick Mahomes. And if he doesn't have a collapsed second half, he's probably playing for a Super Bowl next weekend. But he got one crack. He caught Joey B on a great day. He had a bad day. If Michael had a bad day in the NBA, in an NBA Finals, that's okay. You got 6 more cracks at him. Not true in the NFL, which makes it to me that much more difficult to win those. Do I think that half the quarterbacks that beat Tom Brady in playoff games, Eli Manning looking at you, do I think Eli Manning's a better quarterback than Tom Brady because he beat him in a Super Bowl? No. Brady had one, not even Brady had a bad day. The Patriots had their worst day of the year. The Giants had their best, and that's all it gets is 1. That's why I think Super Bowl wins are so much more of a boost to your legacy than a championship in any other sport.
Yeah, Rob articulated that a lot better than I did, but I'm with him.
Thoughts, Lonzo, before we take it to break?
Well said, Rob. Well said.
See, that's really why I keep Lonzo around. It's just a huge ego boost for me. That's all. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. We talked some Clemson football earlier. Let's look at these 2 schedules, Clemson and South Carolina, next to each other, compare and contrast, and see who needs to accomplish what to impress us more. Rob, Owen, Lonzo, you, ESPN Upstate.
Gosh.
It hurts every time you do it.
If I take you out of utility,
you have to take you out of utility. Yeah, then you cough, it wouldn't pick up.
Okay, that's what I've been trying to do.
There's also, you could just back up and turn your head. You could do that too. Because taking yourself out of utility, you may forget to put yourself back in.
I did that before this last segment. I don't know if you didn't
no,
hear
I know.
me.
I know. But I was able to hear you through Rob's mic. So. And by the way, for you on the stream, sometimes if it sounds like I don't have something to say, it's because we need to go to break.
Got it.
NFL quarterbacks. Who has a better quarterback situation in 2022, Clemson or South Carolina, to be asked sincerely? Plus, can we stop and so much more? The Upstate is talking about offsides with Mark Ryan now 3 to 7 p.m. on ESPN Upstate.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what
I guess, man, I just placed an order for a flower delivery to a Hope Power and Industrial. I just wanted to check and see what time around that'd be there. Yes, I did. The name should be Owen Watterson as the sender, April Matheny as the recipient. I have a confirmation code too if you need it. Matheny, yeah.
It's probably the heart-shaped Honey Nut Cheerios. He found out they can help lower cholesterol. Now he's having fun taking care of his heart and all sorts of things. Let's see those hips move. Hurry and get your heart-shaped Cheerio. They're only here for a limited time.
Hey, Rob.
Yes, sir.
Have you played anything on Game Pass on your computer?
No, I have not. I don't do games on my computer. Well, if I bog my computer down with games, I will never get anything done.
Well, I definitely wouldn't try it on my laptop, obviously, but I did try a game last night that I think you would like.
And it is?
I think it's called Solaris,
okay.
And it's all D&D based, including you put together your entire character, including backstory.
Oh yes, I'm in.
You have to roll dice. You have to do all
I'm
that.
definitely in.
And I am now doing you can build up an entire crew of 4. So I built 4 characters last night and been playing on it. It's pretty cool.
All right, here we go. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the brainchild of Lonzo, his favorite segment to do every single week. It is time for Faces and Heels, where Lonzo and I and Owen will take a look at some socially ambiguous situations and try to decide who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. It is time for Faces and Heels. I got a handful of them, boys. Let's run through them, and we start with this one. 23-year-old man says he and his family were visiting his brother's girlfriend's house for the first time. So his brother's 30, he's dating a 30-year-old woman. They were sitting down at the dinner table. He said, I remember my brother's girlfriend, who is a widow, saying that she keeps an urn of her late husband's ashes in the house. Conversation went from one thing to the next. He said, I cornered my brother and asked him if he was comfortable having his girlfriend's late husband's urn in the house. He gave me a long stare, so I figured the answer was yes, but I couldn't tell for sure. Said the conversation came up later, and he told his brother's girlfriend that it was weird that she would keep an urn of her late husband's ashes in the house where she is currently sleeping with the new man. Is the brother the face of the heel for what he thinks was standing up for his brother and saying, hey, maybe don't have your dead husband's ashes in the house where you're making a new family with my brother? Or is the girlfriend the heel for doing so? Owen, you had a violent reaction. I'll give you first crack at it.
Dude, this brother, oh my goodness. Of course, the wife is not the heel in this situation. It is definitely the brother. If you're a widow and you've gotten to the point to where you've moved on, obviously you care about this other person. But if someone you cared about that much in your life died, if I was married to somebody, of course I'd want them to move on if I died. But I wouldn't want them to just take my ashes out of the house. Like, come on.
Lonzo.
All right. I think there's a third option for the heel here.
Okay.
And the third option is the brother who is sleeping with the widower. And here's the reason why. He knows that his brother's a jerk. He knows that his brother didn't just suddenly become a jerk. His brother's been a jerk their entire life. So he had to know this was coming. So you're the heel for bringing that drama on yourself. Bringing your brother there, knowing he's going to do something stupid, because he always does something stupid.
A lot of assumptions there. I don't think any of them are unfair. Listen, the brother's absolutely the heel here, right? The brother's absolutely here. Here's the thing. I've got a couple of friends of mine who have lost their partners at an early age, right? In their mid to late 30s, early 40s. And they will all tell you there can be room in your heart for another love, but that person, like, it wasn't like they left because you fell apart. Like, you're still in love with who that person was when they passed away. This might be one of the easier ones that we have done in a very long time. If the brother is truly okay with it, right? If the brother's truly okay with it, then it's not your place to ask. And if he doesn't have the stones to say, hey, I'm not cool sleeping in a bed with you next to the ashes of your dead husband, that's on him. That's on him. If that's that big of a problem for him, then he can say something about it. Otherwise, nothing needs to be said at all. All right, couple more. 24-year-old woman is engaged to a 25-year-old man. They are having a destination wedding at the end of 2022. They said they've been planning it for over a year now. They have informed their families that it is a destination wedding. So they gave them a year and a half to prepare for it. She says, my family is using this as an opportunity to have a vacation of their own. So basically, they're taking their vacation and also going to the wedding at the same time. So my fiance is at a full-time doctoral program. We've always had an agreement that I'll pay for the majority of things now. He pays for utilities on the house, and most of the rest of his income goes towards paying off his doctor school money. Words are hard. Anyway, said my dad gave us $5,000 towards the wedding, which we're very thankful for. She said the fiance's family has, instead of deciding to contribute to the wedding, has decided to put their portion of the money and said, this goes towards your doctoral tuition, your doctor money, right? Because becoming a doctor is very expensive. You make a lot of money down the road, but it's very expensive up front. She is very upset that his parents are contributing towards his doctor's tuition, his student loan, but not towards her big fancy destination wedding, and says that she would like to uninvite them from the wedding. You're not contributing to it, therefore you should not get to partake in it, and says it has caused a big rift between her and the fiance. I thought this was an easy one. But I looked down some comment sections responding to this, and there are a lot of people saying, hey, you're marrying a doctor. He's going to be paying for most of the stuff down the line. This is a huge benefit and probably a weight off the shoulder because they're basically paying off like a year's worth of tuition for him. This is not as bad as you're making it. So, Lonzo, is the fiance the face or the heel?
Bro, run while you can. Run while this is so easy. She is definitely the heel. I mean, just the thing that you pointed out, these parents are helping you to stay out of debt because you're going to get, and there's no way they're paying off everything for the debt that he's going to have. I mean, they are helping you out by doing this and helping their son out. I just run. There's other people out there.
I'm so with I was really worried Lonzo was gonna have a different answer for this, but the wife or the fiance is so the heel in this situation. Like, debt ain't no joke.
No.
ain't no
No,
freaking
student
joke.
debt's a real nightmare.
And to have especially if it's a year's worth of a doctoral,
That's huge.
That is so big, especially with how much money he's going to make down the line. That takes off probably a year and a half's worth of payments that this dude's going to have to make on this loan down the line. I mean, that is way more valuable, especially if you're getting married. You're supposed to be together for the long term here. Much bigger than one day, in my opinion.
100%. 100%. She's absolutely the heel. Listen, there has been over the years this switch of mentality, right? Like weddings used to be this very intimate thing between you and your partner and your families coming together, etc. But there's been this shift, and I'm about to go full boomer on y'all. There has been this shift in recent years where the wedding is less about the meaning of the wedding and more about the show of it, right? Like I have gone to weddings where people are like, here's our social media hashtag. And if you don't tag the pictures you take with this social media hashtag, we're going to fight, blah, blah, blah. It's become more about the show of the wedding and less about the intent and the meaning of the wedding. And if that's your style, cool, whatever, I get it. But if you have the option, my little brother's an attorney, right? Not to spill his secrets, but my little brother's an attorney and he had to go to law school. And he's going to be carrying student debt for years. Like he took a very much less paying job working for the state because after 7-10 years, whatever it is, whatever remaining student debt you have, assuming you have paid on time the whole time, the state pays the rest of it for you. So, but because you've been working in their service for so long, and that to him is like the most important day of his life. My dude's gotten married, had a kid, and he's like, no, the biggest day of my life will be when the state calls me and goes, you're debt free, right? If his parents are going, we're going to pay for a year of your doctoral studies instead of ship you off to Hawaii so princess can be princess for a day, I'd be falling over backwards for that, right? Like it took me like 8 years to finish college because I was paying for it as I went because I didn't want to go into student debt. So I graduated instead of like 2007, I graduated like 2011 because I was literally working and paying my way through because I didn't want to do student debt for the reason that so many kids are still locked in it now. This is insane. And if I was him, I'd be like, hey, you ain't got to worry about my doctor money in the future, Jack, because you ain't getting none of it. You ain't getting none of it. All right. Here's another one. This one a little more family oriented. A 28-year-old has a daughter. All right, young daughter, like a year and a half old, and says my 31-year-old sister has been stepping in to babysit a couple of times a month while I've had to work and get stuff done, whatever. Says she's kind of me and my husband's backup babysitter because her and her niece, my daughter, get along. But there's a problem. She says the sister will not talk to the baby using the baby talk voice. You know, oh, who's your good little baby? Well, that's puppy talk, but you get the point. I don't know the difference between how you talk to puppies and kids. They're all the same.
No, it's very similar. You're
yeah.
right.
Okay, so she says that she has asked the sister to please use baby talk with the baby so that the baby is comfortable with the communication instead of, because she talks to the baby like an adult. Are you hungry? You want some food, baby? Hey, do you want some bananas, baby? You know what I mean? Like she talks like an adult to the point that she has said, I am not going to allow my sister to babysit the niece anymore because her adult tone is making my baby uncomfortable. The husband's going, whoa, hold up. We've got a free built-in babysitter who does this out of love for the kid, and she won't goo goo gaga over the baby. So you're going to stop? Again, maybe this one's clear cut to me. Oh, and you're up first. Face and heel.
The mom in this situation is absolutely the heel. I mean, my daughter turns 3 in less than a month now at the end of February. And one of my biggest pet peeves about parents is that baby talk. I feel like it hinders the development. Like nobody is going to talk to them like that once they're any kind of older. Like talk to them like an adult. And in my opinion, it's helped my little girl's articulation. She talks more. She's more social. Like I can't stand that baby talk stuff. We have 1, maybe 2 consistent babysitters on a regular basis. No chance I would ever tell one of them, nah, we'll find somebody else just because of that. Are you kidding me?
Lonzo.
All right. First of all, I have no problem with baby talk. I don't. once a child reaches a point where they can understand and speak words, then you need to stop. But to me, if you want to do that, that's fine. Not me. I didn't really do that, but I will use a different tone while talking to a child because I don't want them to be afraid. And I think that kind of goes along the lines with the baby talk a little bit. But this mom is downright crazy. That's just ridiculous. I just I'm glad I don't exist in a place where these people are, because, well, maybe I did. Maybe that's why I live in the woods now.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, my mom's absolutely the heel in this, right? Like, if nothing else, I have always said Sesame Street, right? We all watched Sesame Street growing up. It's been on the air for 60 damn years. Like, we all watched it. Elmo is the worst thing to happen on kids' TV ever, right? He's the worst ever because Big Bird and Cookie Monster and all these other Muppets do such a good time, such a good job teaching kids about humility and respect and hard work and dedication and passion. And Sesame Street has taken so many steps over the years. There's a goal. So you remember Snuffleupagus? Big Bird had the imaginary elephant friend, Snuffleupagus. And for years, Big Bird was the only one that could see Snuffleupagus. And eventually they made Snuffleupagus real to everybody else, because what was happening was kids were getting to a point where they were being preyed on by people who were going, I'm your imaginary friend. Nobody else is going to believe you. And they had multiple stories of kids like not having adults believe them. So they're like, nope, everybody can see him, whatever. Elmo goes on there with his garbage 1-month-old baby talk. Elmo, and he ruins what they're trying to do. All right. He ruins what they're trying to do. If I don't do baby talk, I'm a 36-year-old man. That's not true. I'll baby talk to a puppy because it's a puppy and they deserve better. But if you give me a baby, I will hold the baby. All right. I will take care of the baby. I'm good with all that. But I'm not going to goo-goo out of the baby because I'm a 36-year-old man. If you're going to go, Rob, you can't babysit, cool by me, bro. Cool by me.
Like, the sister's just trying to help them out.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. Here's last one, and then we'll take a break. Lady says that she met a guy on a dating app. They hit it off. And they finally arranged for the first date. They doing the online thing of like, they did some face-to-face Zoom meetings over the computer and all that until she was comfortable enough to meet. Said he asked me out to dinner to a nice restaurant, right? To a nice little restaurant. So they sat down and the guy took out $20 and $1 bills and set them on the table and said, every time you make a mistake, I'm going to take $1 out of this pile, and whatever's left at the end of dinner, that's your tip. Okay. So she starts funny every mistake. Said that the waitress had a couple of things, like she spilled a glass of water walking up to the table, messed up the order, messed up one little side, etc. But basically, a lot of the mistakes that she made, quote unquote, were just things that the guy did not like. Ended up getting down to where he took away like $7 and left $13 on the table, and that was her tip. She said, but the bill came out to be like $90. So it was right at 15%. She said when the bill came, it came in one bill. She goes, split mine apart, please. He was like, no, I got it. She's like, I'm not asking you. Split mine apart. She paid for her half of dinner and then left like $40 as a tip and then was like, don't call me. I'm out. Bye. She says, I'm now worried that maybe I took it too far as a reaction on a first date. But am I the bad guy or am I the good guy in doing this?
All right. Who gets to go first? Let me go first since I jumped in.
Go ahead.
She is the heel, and here's the reason why. No. Let me tell you why. Because as soon as he set those dollars down on the table, she sat through the entire meal, which means the meal was more important than her principles. And the fact that she's willing to still give him the benefit of the doubt and thinking that she may be the bad guy, she is the bad guy.
Lonzo, that may have been your best faces and heels yet. That might have been your best one. Good call. Owen, you're up.
That was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna say for sure I don't want to say for sure that the guy's the heel. I get not tipping a lot, but come on. My mom always told me when I was a kid, like, if you can't afford a tip, you can't afford to go out and eat. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of my placement. But Lonzo hit the nail on the freaking head, right? You want to be holier than thou and say, I don't want to come see you just because the amount you didn't tip, but you want to make sure you get the rest of dinner. Come on.
The whole this is your tip, and every time you make a mistake, I take $1 away. It's a jerk move. All right, it's a jerk move because here's the deal. You have now created a situation where she knows she's being judged for every little thing. She knows. And that makes the majority of people, makes you more nervous, right? If you know you're being judged, what's easier? When somebody calls you on the phone and asks to chat, or when somebody calls you on the phone and goes, this is your job interview. Well, crap, now I'm a little more nervous. I'm more prone to make mistakes. That's a jerk move. But Lonzo, bravo, you are spot on. She thought she was going to walk away as the face because she gave this poor girl extra money. She should have called that out at the beginning. She should have gone, no, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable. This is not okay. You're treating service people like with a lack of respect. I promise you, I've bartended, I've waited tables. Service members are the service industry people, some of the hardest working people ever going to be. I tracked my steps one time when I was a bartender. I walked 6.5 miles in 1 8-hour shift. It is hard freaking work to do that many things. That's a jerk move, but she's kind of a jerk for sitting there and letting it happen. Good eye, Lonzo. Bravo. Well done. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Quick segment, then Twitter trending topics to wrap it up on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Rob, you'll have a Prisma Health next break.
Thank you, sir.
And that is the last one.
That should be it. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Lonzo bringing. Oh, Lonzo's gone. Bye, Lonzo. He probably froze up.
It is a lot to run StreamYard.
Yeah.
Get it all the way through.
Yeah.
Here. I know
It's a lot of resources on there.
A lot of RAM.
Be right back, stream. Now we can. Happy birthday, DJ. 39, you old freaking man. Goodness gracious.
Thanks for sharing your birthday with us, partner.
Right? My man Skrilla on the big 3-9. You going to blink tomorrow and be 40, dog? Golly. This will be a real quick segment. 2 minutes. All right, let's clean up the text line a little bit. The Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Texter says ESPN, the NBA sucks now. It doesn't. It's just different. It doesn't suck. There's still some incredible athletes doing incredible things with the basketball. It's just not as punch you in the face as it used to be allowed to be.
If anything, it's better now because of how I just said this earlier on the show. Like, there is way more parity right now in the NBA than I think there has been since I've ever watched.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, agreed. Texas says Tom Brady threw for 84,000 yards and 624 touchdowns. You would have to throw for 300 yards per game for almost 17 seasons and throw over 2 touchdowns a game for the same. Then win 7 Super Bowls along the way, minimum, game over. Yeah, that's it, man. Like, if you stretch those numbers out over 22 seasons with the extra 17th game that Tom Brady only got for his last season, right? That would still be a Hall of Fame career, whether you won a Super Bowl or not, right? If you never won a Super Bowl and put those numbers up, you would still go down behind Tom Brady as the second greatest quarterback to ever play the game. Texas says, Rob, if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, will you consider Joe Burrow the best active quarterback in the NFL?
Good question.
That's a great question. Do I consider him better than Aaron Rodgers right now?
I think that depends on how Aaron Rodgers plays next year.
Yeah.
The way Joey B looks, if he stays healthy, shoo.
I would argue that he goes ahead of Patrick Mahomes because Patty Mahomes this year had a really shaky start to the season. They got very hot at the end, but and he was good against the Bills, but there were a lot of mistakes. Both the Bills, Mahomes made 2 or 3 mistakes that changed the game, right? Against the Bengals last week, he made like 5 or 6 mistakes that I think frankly lost them the game. I'm not putting it all on his feet, but I'm putting one shoe on his feet. I think I could argue that Joe Burrow moves ahead of Patrick Mahomes if he wins the Super Bowl.
If he doesn't move ahead of Mahomes, he's the only one behind Mahomes.
Yeah, nipping on his heels. All right, let's see. As far as the kid v. dog baby voice discussion, Texas says, dogs listen better and don't cost nearly as much. Oh, don't get me wrong. I am what the kids refer to as child-free, which means I don't want kids, all right? I love kids. Kids are great. I'm an uncle. My little nephew is my favorite person on the planet. I like him more than I like myself, and I like myself a lot, all right? Like TO levels. I love kids. But then when my little nephew was a baby, I learned the word a blowout. You know what a blowout is. You've had a kid, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. I learned the word blowout. See, if a dog poops inside, you just get your little plastic bag and you pick it up and throw it in the trash can, and then you go no, and you take him outside. And then that's it. If a baby has a blowout, from what I've understood, it's like a scene out of The Exorcist. And I don't want to deal with it. All right? So yeah, hashtag Team Dog. Texas says Caillou is we got a kid's cartoon take. Caillou is worse than Elmo, and it's not even close. I'd take 7 Elmos over one baby back bee like Caillou. I legitimately hate Caillou. That is a strong Caillou take.
What did Caillou do to you? That's really what is more interesting to me about this text is what did that cartoon character do to you?
Texas said the weird tip guy is an absolute psychopath. Who does stuff like that ever, let alone on a first date? Dude is a complete Karen. I agree. That's a Karen move. If you're not going to tip well at the end, at least let me get through the whole serving you process before you screw me on the tip. All right. Because if you do it at the beginning, if you take out 21s and put on the table and go, every mistake, I take him one away, I know I'm walking with like $3. I know beforehand that you are already the person who is going to complain about everything. And I'll tell you straight up, if you walk in and you know you're going to tip $3 and don't tell me, you're going to get the best service I can give you at that moment. If you walk in and put 21s on the table and go, I take one away, every mistake, I'm writing your table off. I'm writing you off and I don't care. And I'll tell the manager straight up, if you want somebody else to serve them, that's fine. But they're going you are at the bottom of my serving list at that point. You ask for a drink, you'll get it after I take care of all my other tables because somewhere out there is the money that's going to make up for you being a Karen. Absolutely. Texas says, I would have told the customer that they just cost themselves 20 minutes of their food coming out at $1 a minute. And that being polite may take me bringing their drinks in a mildly timely manner. Yeah, that's it. Here's your water, sir. I'll see you in half an hour. Right? Because there's no promise that I'm not even going to the table. I'll just wait for them to leave for somebody else to sit down. For real. All right. 844-GSP, ESPN. Let's take a break. Short Twitter trending topics. And we come back on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate.
Brisbane.
Tell you about my friends at Prisma Health. Ladies and gentlemen, when I moved here to the upstate, one of the first things that I had to do, and it was not an option, is figure out exactly who my doctors were going to be. Where was I going to go when I needed healthcare? And there's been a couple of times since I've got here that I have needed healthcare. And when I started asking around, the name that I heard was Prisma. And I have been working with Prisma for my healthcare since I got here. Why? Because not only did I get suggestions from around this building and around the upstate that folks have had an incredible experience with Prisma when they have been in the most needy of their healthcare situations, but both South Carolina and Clemson utilize the team physicians for their team physicians. And they don't agree on a heck of a lot. They have extended hours, and you can set weekend appointments, especially with their sports medicine specialists. So if you're a young athlete out there, maybe you want to end up at Clemson or South Carolina, taking care of your body is step number one. And not only does their sports medicine department have specialists in every area that you might need, but those same specialists are the folks that are working with Clemson and South Carolina. Why wouldn't you start on the same page? They offer 2 full-service walk-in orthopedic urgent care clinics for all sports injuries, strains, sprains, fractures, as well as chronic joint pain. You can learn more by going to prismahealth.org, or if you're looking for the sports medicine department, prismahealth.org/orthopedics. Check them out, the official healthcare provider for both Clemson and South Carolina. It's our friends at Prisma Health.
And there we go. It's all easy sliding for the rest of the ride.
Mostly sunny skies for this afternoon, high around 55. Tonight, increasing cloud cover near 34. By Wednesday, a slight chance for rain here late, partial sunshine develops at 54. Thursday, chance for rain here 62. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Bruchinsky of ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 53.
ESPN Upstate. No matter where the ball bounces, we've got your hookup on your radio at 97.7 FM in Green Bay and 97.1 FM in Spartanburg. On your computer at ESPNUpstate.com. On your phone or tablet on the Odyssey app. On your Amazon smart speaker.
ESPN Upstate.
And your HD radio at WFBC HD3. At home, in the car, in the office. So many ways to get in the game with ESPN Upstate. All sports 24/7 for Upstate, South Carolina.
QC Kinetics provided amazing pain relief for a former professional baseball player, and you have access to the same life-changing treatments as retired Braves pitcher Jose Alvarez.
I put a lot of stress and strain and work on my right arm, but my right elbow took most of the damage with 3 surgeries.
Arthritis developed, and the pain was unbearable.
It wasn't just pain when I was trying to play sports. It was anytime I was moving the right elbow. It was pretty excruciating at times.
That's when Jose discovered QC Kinetics and the regenerative treatments that help the body heal itself.
I got a couple of good ones.
Perfect. Love it. Let's go.
No surgery or downtime. Jose's message to the medical.
You want to come back with the rejoin or the Twitter trending topic?
Straight to Twitter.
Okay.
QC Kinetics is right here. Call
Do
for
that.
your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772.
You got it. Ask and you shall receive.
My friend told me about Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and his exact words were, "It changed my life. I used to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to remove tomato sauce from inside our microwave and soap scum off the bathtub. It's like seriously magic, and my secret weapon for cleaning the kitchen, bathroom, doors, and walls, and even keeping my sneakers clean.
Mr. Clean, Mr.
Greatest
Clean.
invention ever."
It is way too catchy.
It has no right to be
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, the unicorn of
freaking jingle.
Why does Walgreens offer copays as low as $0 and 90-day refills? Because we care about Medicare, so you don't have to. I mean, do you really care to hear me go on about same-day prescription delivery making your life easier? Or how there's a pharmacy expert available 24/7 and one-click refills? Well, I just did anyways. Fill your Medicare prescriptions with Walgreens and save. $0 copays apply to tier 1 to
There hasn't been anything on the TV all day except Tom Brady. Literally.
Is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
The 2005 Texas Longhorns began the season ranked number 2 and stayed there all season. Their defense allowed only 16 points per game, while their Vince Young-led offense averaged 50. The Longhorns went on to face USC in the BCS National Championship game against top-ranked USC, winning 41-38. And what many consider one of the
I'm going to bring it in. Yeah.
That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 770 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports. Post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Conditions apply.
All right, Rob, quick fire here on the Twitter trending topic. Seeing stuff about the housing market trending, and that brought up Kansas. Small towns in Kansas are giving out free rural land to people willing to move there. Would you be willing to live in a very rural area if the land was free?
My dad and grandparents lived in Kansas, and he said, you know what the cool thing about Kansas is? And I said, no, what's the cool thing about Kansas? And he said, there's not. Like he said, if you stand in the middle of Kansas, you know, you go up to, Chimney Rock, North Carolina, right? And if you stand at the top of Chimney Rock, you can look and you can see, I think, 3 different states. You can see North Carolina, South Carolina, or 4, Tennessee and Georgia, or whatever it is. He said, if you stand in Kansas, if you look in any direction, you can see all the other states because there's nothing there. We drove through Kansas on a vacation many moons ago in an RV. Kansas has like a really cool Bass Pro Shop and a racetrack.
And that's it.
That's pretty much it.
Last thing, Rob, quick fire. Caleb Williams transfers to USC.
Yep, made it official earlier today. He is going to USC. So hopefully for them, fingers crossed, USC's found a next Trojan quarterback and maybe can get themselves back into the discussion of college football. Mark Ryan and Diesel are up next. Clemson schedule's out. I'm sure you're going to break down of that. And Mark Ryan's going to tell you how much he loves Tom Brady for 4 hours. I can't wait. You can't either. Rob Brown Show's on your radio. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again. This is ESPN Upstate. Later, brother. All right, stream. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow.